Hello, I'm David Plastik, and welcome to the Rockin Roundtable.
Welcome. We have David Plastik here today. And David Plastik is a world-famous published rock or photographer, but mainly rock magazines.
Mostly music, yes.
Yeah, music and rock and concerts. And you have done everything since the beginning of
1980.
1980,
The whole decade of the 1980s.
Yeah.
Basically was my...
And we would love to ask you a few questions, about your career and how you got into it, and all the things that happen, and fun stories as well that you can share. So let's just start with, how did you get into photography as a young man in New York City?
It was basically by mistake. It was I moved to New York City when I was 14. The whole family moved to New York City. We lived in the suburbs of New York before that. And I just got into, and I really didn't know what concerts were before that. And I remember going to, and I started getting into music. Someone introduced me to music in high school and started, oh, this is great stuff, this is cool. And I knew, I would listen to like the America's Top 40 back in the day. I knew that, but I really didn't know who bands were. You knew the songs. You didn't know bands. You knew who the Beatles were. You knew who the Rolling Stones were.
Yeah.
Maybe, but you didn't really know, who did this, who sang that. It wasn't the internet. It wasn't things you did. So you really didn't pay attention. But when I was 14, I remember my father would take me to a lot of sporting events, New York Rangers, New York Knicks, at Madison Square Garden in New York City, which is the mecca of concerts. It is the concert mecca. It's probably the most famous venue for concerts ever.
I've never been there.
Yeah,
I have.
Oh, crazy.
And I remember I went there and I'd see this band's in concert. I'm like, I didn't really know what a concert, And I said, let's get my ticket. And tickets were very cheap then, $8.50, $9.50. And so I started going to concerts. I went by myself.
Oh, yeah.
I really didn't have any friends. I just moved to Manhattan. And we literally just bought one ticket each time for these concerts. I bought all these tickets for concerts. Started going to concerts, started liking it. And, I was like, wow, this is very cool. And when I was 16, so a couple years later, my father didn't like the long hair. He was kind of a businessman. He was trying to distract me from being into rock and roll and maybe get better grades and everything like that. So he bought me a camera. And not for music, not to take the concerts.
Yeah.
As to go to Central Park and like start taking pictures of like birds or whatever, or scenery or, like here's a hobby you could do, since I didn't play an instrument or didn't buy me a camera, obviously. And I took it to a concert.
Cool.
Back then, you could literally walk in with a professional camera to a concert.
Oh, that would be my question, guys, because
it wasn't, even though they would say on the tickets it would say like no cameras or recorders. They really didn't.
Checked,
Back then it was like no metal detectors. You could literally just like I remember I'd wear a camera bag and I had it like slapped on my back and walk in and they don't see it.
Yeah.
And once you're inside, they don't even bother you. There's a few concerts that bothered you. I remember when I went to see Ozzy. Ozzy, and then was this Sharon Osbourne. It's a crazy, and she was against it, and she would have people like looking out for photographers. Prince did it too. I remember I was chased during a concert, and what I would do is roll up my film and I'd hand it to my friend. So now if they ever found me, they wouldn't find the film that I already taken.
All right.
And have a friend of that. It's like. So I got a way out. Oh, here's a roll of film. Nothing's on it. They don't know that. It's film. They can't develop. They're not going to develop. So I remember when I went to see Ozzy Osbourne with Randy Rhoads playing the first time, and really didn't know who was in the band. We didn't know who Randy Rhoads was. We're in New York. We didn't know. We didn't know who Quiet Riot was. He had no worldwide following. And the album just came out, and I remember. They were being tough that day. It was the only time I'd been to the place in New Jersey before. I remember I took a bus there. So So I had my equipment. So I didn't have a car to put my stuff in. I literally had to try to get in 5 different times to finally.
Oh.
And then, you know, and I finally either found some guy that didn't search me, you know, oh no, you're going to put, you know, and I walk out, you know. What I ended up doing was I had a friend, he was an older guy from New York, another concert guy, and he had like a long overcoat. And since he was older, they didn't kind of like search him. They kind of, like a nerd, you know, like an older person. Oh,
they didn't check people the way they do now.
No, exactly. And there wasn't metal detectors, you know, and you know now these, you know, the metal detectors literally could tell what's going off. Remember, it went off. Yeah, you know, I remember I went to a concert yesterday. I went to John Waite, the Cannery, and like, you know. I remember I put your phone in here, put your keys in here, put them, can you know, my thing went off. Oh, it's my belt. And the guy's like, Lee, holds the thing to you. Oh, yeah, right to your belt. I'm like, oh, thank you. It's like, you know, and Lee like, knew exactly what it was, you know, like, okay, and that's so advanced, and you know, the technology is so, they know exactly where to look and where, you know, back then, you know, you put the camera in your sock, you put it in this.
Oh, yeah.
There's one time.
Oh, yeah.
There's one time I got really clever. I remember I went to see Bruce Springsteen, and what I did was, I think they weren't going to let us take pictures. And Macy's was across the street, so I went shopping, and like I bought like a box, Macy box, whatever. I had stuff in it. We put my camera in the Macy box. You know, like, oh, you know, we went shopping before the concert. You know, and this is our bag. You know, and this, once you're inside, you
got creative, right?
Yeah, You know, once you went inside, you know, once you got inside, you know, they really didn't bother you. The ushers didn't bother you. They didn't care. They didn't, you know, it was too much for them. You know.
But at that time, I mean, you were obviously in the crowd taking pictures.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you get to? Clearly you loved it, but how did you get to the next level, so to speak? And
I kept doing it. Yeah. I mean, you know, and I would, you know, like at concerts, I would see people outside. I'd see photographers. You know, I really wasn't. I don't remember, you know, being a big magazine guy where I looked. Oh, this is that photographer. This is But I remember seeing photographers in the pit and so on, and and taking pictures or on stage taking pictures. And, you know, like, oh, that would be cool to do one day. And I remember going to, I would travel to England. What happened was, when in 1981, my parents took the whole family, me and my brother and us and my parents, we went on a European vacation, kind of like the movie. You know, exactly. And we went to like all those different, you know, countries. You know? And I remember when we first got to England, and we're literally staying in a hotel, and we look out the hotel and like right the lobby, and there's a concert hall right across the street, and it said Rainbow. It was at the Rainbow Theater. It's called the Rainbow Theater, and Rainbow at the Rainbow Theater. And I was a big Richie Blackmore, a big Rainbow fan. I don't think I have. And I'm like, can I go to the concert tonight? You know, I remember telling, you know, we went and bought a ticket, you know, and I had my camera with me, and they let me bring in my camera, take pictures. And I instantly, like, you know, met some fans and kind of, you know, by myself, and kind of met some people online, on the line.
Oh, yeah, not online.
In line to get in. I know it's online. It's like, on the line to get in. You know, to be admitted, you know, and because you wait there, get there a couple hours ahead. It's a GA general admission concert, so you wait a couple hours, you know, to get up front. And I'm speaking to some people. Oh, I'm from New York. Oh, wow, you're from New York. You know, we in this band, and you know, and I made some friends quickly, and you know, became pen pal. You know, like I was telling you a story before, and we'll get into it again. You know, you made friends. That's how we did things back then. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have ways we could. You know, we didn't have Facebook. We couldn't communicate with people. So we wrote letters to people. You know, it became like pen pals. Like a jail kind of thing, you know. People write letters to people, prisoners, you know. You know, it's like,
especially if it was international.
Yes.
I mean, because you could talk to people on the phone, landlines.
Yeah, exactly.
If it was,
international it was expensive to call.
Yeah.
You know, there was different ratings. Like now, everything's the same. You know, you get unlimited calls. Back, remember, I think your parents see a phone bill and like,
Yeah,
who
what's
did you call?
expensive?
You know,
Yeah.
like, it's like, things, it's
And if so, you had to make it quick, like 5 minutes.
so, it
Or
was,
less, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and also the time difference and so on, the time zones, and
Yeah,
these
yeah.
different times.
That's right.
But yeah, and you call sometimes you call at night. The rates were cheaper, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
I remember
you know,
that.
so, but so, like I said, my father bought me a camera, and I started taking the concerts not against his wishes, I guess, but this I started getting good at it, you know, and so I'd go to concerts, see people selling photos outside. I would do that. I would go to rock and roll conventions. They had these like kind of rock and roll flea markets. They called them a rock and roll flea market where they had people did vendors selling memorabilia, kind of like a record collector store, you know, like and people would sell their stuff. And I remember I had a table and a booth, and I'd sell my photos and so on. And I'm still a young kid, teenager. I started at 16 now, so I was already kind of, you know, being a entrepreneur, you know, young teenage entrepreneur. And this is, like I said, this is before I'm even an official photographer. You know, I'm still sneaking my camera into concerts. You would see people that would sell cassette tapes of
like
live
bootlegs
concerts. Bootlegs.
Yeah.
And so on. It was like that. And so I went to England, and I was like, oh, this is great. You know, and I started reading these British magazines, and you know, I found out you can get some of these British magazines and newspapers in New York. So I remember I'd go to the newsstands and buy this. Oh wow, this concert looks great. You know, I'm off during the summer. You know, school's out. You know, I try to arrange for my parents. You know, it's like, mind if I go to England and, you know, attend some of these concerts? I had some friends that did it. Yeah, I was friendly with the other people, and they did it. So I'm like, maybe you can. You know, I went, and you know, we'll get rid of you for a summer. It's good. You don't have to be in our hair. You know, so and so I went over there, and Louis was still doing it from the crowd.
Yeah,
taking pictures there and making friends. And I remember, like, I went to see, you know, I'm from New York, and we had, you know, some of the bands that were famous in New York were like Twisted Sister, Zebra, all these bands.
Right.
And they were first getting some notice in England. And they were playing in England that same time. I remember on the air, I've already seen Twisted Sister 40 times.
Yeah, because they played a lot there in New York City.
They were a cover band.
Yeah.
They played 3 hours a night, you know, and Dee Snider would, you know, fight with the audience every day. You know, that was your challenge until he was like a lunatic. And he was like, you know, it was like a comedian. Like I you know, like people would heckle him.
Yeah.
And you know, because he's dressed like, you know, how he dressed. You know.
Yeah. So they did that even before they became.
Yes.
Twisted Sister. You can hear the names.
And you know, they had a gimmick. Their gimmick was different. You know, kind of similar to kind of Kiss in a way, but not, because they were
more
Kiss
color.
wasn't male. Kiss didn't look like female.
No.
Yeah, it kind of had like and before it's pre-Poison.
Yeah.
You know, all that kind of stuff. So I remember, you know, I started like, oh wow, you've seen this band? We love Twisted Sister. We just heard it. Like, oh, they're really old news to us. You know, like, you know, it's like, you know. It's like these people seeing Iron Maiden earlier or something like that, or a
Judas
British band coming up, you know, and like, wow, we just heard of them. Iron Maiden. Oh, they've been around here for years. We used to see them, you know, before, I saw Guns N' Roses. Like I said, when I moved to LA, you know, and I saw Guns N' Roses the first time, and I never heard of them. You know, they were unknown, they were unsigned.
Yeah.
And somehow they ended up on a professional concert bill, you know, with Ted Nugent and Black and Blue, and then, Guns N' Roses. Well, it's Guns N' Roses, you know. So I barely took pictures, you know, and took a few pictures, and, you know, I wish I did more back then. Like, it took a lot more, you know. You know, I wish I knew who they were.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
You know, Slash was going to become a guitar hero. You know, I don't think I even took any kind of portrait style photos. I took a few, like, you know, landscape kind of pictures of the band, you know, kind of like, you know, really didn't know who to focus on. You know, sometimes you know who to focus on. You know, you go to Ted Nugent concert, you focus on Ted Nugent. You focus on Aerosmith, you focus on Steven Tyler. You don't know who Guns N' Roses are. You don't know who to focus. Who's the famous guy? You know? But
when you were doing this from the crowd, what was your first, like, when you got the foot in the door to get like a real photo pass? Was that in England, or was that in New York?
So I go to England to photograph concerts, and I didn't have a photo pass. And what happened was I was a big Gary Moore fan. I really liked Gary Moore. He was one of my early guitar heroes. And I seen him in England because he really didn't come to America. He came to America once before that. And he played once with Thin Lizzy in America. So where's an American? So I had to go to England to photograph him. And I photographed him at the Marquee, which is the, small, legendary
in London.
rock and roll nightclub in London. Sweatbox. I mean, it was like very small, as big as a set, and it was like, everyone's crowded in there and you're sitting there taking pictures, and you're sweating, it was gross, and it wasn't, and no air conditioning. England's famous like no air conditioning.
Right. Never gets that hot.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it does,
but if you put 200 people in a space for 100 people, it's going to get hot.
Yeah.
So so I took pictures, and I would basically carry pictures with me. Now this is, try to sell some, maybe make a few bucks at every concert. And I went to see Gary Moore. He opened up for, it was Def Leppard. Def Leppard first got big.
Oh, yeah.
This is 1983. Just when
Pyromania.
Def Leppard's now went up from, I remember seeing Def Leppard. It was in 1981. It was Ozzy, Joe Perry, and a band from England called Def Leppard, third on a bill. Played for 30 minutes. No one really knew who they were. And I remember even I was told, I didn't see them before that, but they even opened up for AC/DC a year before. And when AC/DC was hardly a name, but they had a cult following in New York, and Def Leppard was, Def Leppard made a lot of trips to New York, to America.
Yeah.
And so now they became big. So, and I went to the concert, and Gary Moore and his band, which had Ian Pace on drums and Neil Murray on bass from Whitesnake, their dressing room was accessible to literally a crowd. It's like literally like in the corridor of the hallway. It's like, so they led them to, sometimes you see that, where they walk through the hallway. The band walks off stage and kind of goes through the hallway. So I kind of like followed them back, saw that, wow, that's cool. I knock on the door, and Ian Pace answers the door. Oh, Ian Pace, Deep Purple. Wow, that's great.
Legendary.
Legendary. And I said, I saw you guys in England last year. In America, a guy from England? I'm like, no, I'm from America. I went to England, and so on, we're talking, and I show him these pictures. I great picture of Ian Pace, great picture of Gary Moore. And it's like, oh, hold on a second, let me get somebody. And he takes it, can I take these with me for a second? Yeah, sure. I'm waiting at the door. He takes the picture, comes out, and goes, oh man, come on in, you're cool. I'm like I'm a 17-year-old, and I was like 19. I was 1983, 19 years old. Like, this is fabulous. I had a denim jacket with the patches on it and painted jacket.
Battle vest.
Battle vest, they call it now. I don't think it was called battle vest back then.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's acquired that name. But I had these great ones, and I had a guy that would paint, the greatest painter, and a young kid, and he'd paint the jackets for you. It's like nothing too. It's like it was his hobby. So I remember I had a whole bunch of them. I had one of Iron Maiden. I had one of Manowar. I was a big Manowar fan when it first came out.
Wow.
So I'm back. So Gary Moore brings it backstage. I'm speaking to the tour manager. I'm like, I'm going to see them this was in Massachusetts, in Cape Cod, which is Massachusetts. And I was in high school. I was in college at the summer, and so I was 19. My freshman year of college, I think. I was going to Hartford the next day to see the show. That's where I actually lived. I lived in Hartford, and I traveled to Cape Cod. I live in Hartford. I'm going to the Hartford tomorrow. Oh, do you, is there any way I could bring a camera in? I couldn't bring my camera in tonight because Def Leppard was kind of, didn't want photographers. They had Russ Halford in there, a photographer. And he kind of keeps people from doing things. Yeah. So they said, yeah, sure, we'll give you a photo pass. And give me a photo pass. And I was only allowed to shoot Gary Moore. I'm backstage. I don't even know how things going. I remember Gary Moore walked in, and he wasn't really a media person.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember I didn't know the rules. When we first walked in, I'm like a puffer. I took a picture. And he's like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, oh, sorry.
And everything was flashes back then,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
That's a little discouraged. Yeah.
I'm like a paparazzi.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, no, don't do that. No, you don't do that. like, okay, I just learned a lesson, So,
Yeah.
and I ran into a friend of mine backstage that I knew from New York, and he was with a journalist that just came out with a new magazine called Guitar for the Practicing Musician. They were on their first issue, and he goes, this is John Sticks, then I meet him, and I had a stack of photos. And I go, this I'm a photographer. This is my photos. And he's great. He goes, like, no, I'm not a professional. I'm just a fan that sneaks his camera into the audience, and takes pictures. He's fantastic. That's, maybe we can use some of these in the magazine. You'll make a little money. Like, oh, make money? Well, great, Get a little money. It wasn't much money, but it was money. Whatever.
Yeah, it was,
Back then, money was money. It was like, back, little money was something, went somewhere. Tickets were only $8.50, $9.50, $10.50 to concerts.
Yeah.
Now tickets are thousands of dollars. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So he's let me borrow these photos, or I got the negatives. He wasn't even taking the right kind of film to get published.
Okay.
They wanted you to take slides. I was taking negative film, which is something, you get the snapshots from slides. You would get a slide.
Yeah.
It's not something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Built in the plastic covers?
Yeah.
Or-
It's like, So you wouldn't even when you go to Photomat or whatever, 1 hour photo, or you go to, you send your pictures in the drugstore, or Kodak film or whatever, you would get back a stack of photos. If you took slides, they wouldn't even send you photos. They would send you the slides, and you put them in the projector. But I didn't do that. So I remember I was told, you have to do this. You have to take this kind of film because the magazines publish. They look better in the print.
Okay.
They instruct me how to change my whole thing, and we'll get you a photo pass for this. Oh, a photo, but great, and so on. And sometimes you only could photograph a couple songs. Sometimes you had the whole show. Everything was different. Every band had their different rules.
Yeah.
And so I started working. I started becoming their photographer. And in Hartford, where I went to school, it wasn't New York. It was like a smaller kind of city. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have many rock and roll photographers. I'd be the only photographer there. It'd be great. So they didn't mind giving me passes. Oh, we have 30 photographers that want to get into the New York show. We can only have 3. Mm-hmm. So they narrow it down. But if I'm in Hartford, like
that's
it's not New York, right?
It was the only. It was great. It was like I remember I'd go to New York sometimes because when I'd be off from school, I'd go back to New York for a couple of days, or if a concert was only in New York, and and New York was harder to get photo passes because we had so many photographers. But in Hartford, it was great. It was like the place to be. A small town. Even though it's not a small town, it's the capital, Connecticut, but it's but compared to New York, it's a small small market.
So easier to get in there. Yeah. So and once you did that, then you kind of started becoming a professional, even though it was not intentional.
Right.
But it just became.
Started making money and making my father happy. Like, oh wow, he makes money from this. Oh, I was like, maybe he's good at it.
Right.
Impressing my parents and so on. And maybe just from discouraging them from guiding me in different things. I'm still had to get passing grades. But
of course.
It's like,
but they realized you had some unique talent there.
Yeah. So
and I think that's the thing with. Well, obviously I've seen your pictures, but like when I look in magazines, you have to have a certain eye to get those specific pictures.
And I developed that. Like I remember when I first started taking pictures, went to a concert, how, there's portrait, which is, when you hold the camera sideways.
Yeah.
And then there's the direct way to hold the camera like this, which is landscape. And I didn't know the portraits. I didn't know you could hold the camera like this. So I remember my first couple concerts I went to, I was thinking, all my pictures are landscape.
Yeah.
Because, you come to, more for like group shots, or shots that go, because you're getting the width of it, and so, a lot of my old photos are just, literally all that because I didn't know. I see someone thinking, how's he holding the camera like that? What's he doing? Nowadays, you see people, they, literally, where they can see the the photo they're taking with no film anymore, and that they hold the camera over their head. They have all autofocus. You couldn't do that back then. You had to really focus the camera.
Right.
You had to take pictures with two hands.
Yeah.
You see people taking one hand.
What cameras were you using then?
My first camera was a Konica camera.
Okay.
I really had one camera and one zoom lens. It was like an 80 to 200 zoom lens. And that was what I took to concerts. It was one camera, one lens. And, sometimes, like I said, I had to put it on my back and kind of like, or kind of like hold on my shoulder where someone wouldn't see me walking. I didn't know that it wasn't hard, really, to get a camera in.
I was using an Olympus OM1.
Okay, yeah.
And Vivitar lenses, a lot of them.
Right. I think I had a Sigma lens. I don't even think I had a Konica lens. And later on, when I got professional, I moved up to Nikon.
Yeah.
Which was, the top brand at the time.
They were a little more noisy because you heard a click on all of them back then. But I think I chose Olympus because I was in high school at the time, but the teacher recommended it. But it was the quietest out of all of them. But quality-wise, they're all equally as amazing. It was just more like if you're in a church or some kind of quiet setting, you don't want to hear a bunch of clicks if you can avoid it. But
Yeah.
So this is just amazing, and I love that you know so much. She went to school for photography, so I'm so clueless.
I actually failed the course in photography. I remember in college I enrolled in. Why don't I take a photography course and things? But I was kind of stubborn. I was only taking pictures of concerts, and and they really they wanted you to take a picture of this, these special all kinds of unique photography, and I'm like, no, I take pictures of concerts. And here's my picture of Carlos Santana. I remember no, that's not the assignment. The assignment's to do that. Well, I don't do that. And I remember I was already getting published, and I said, look, here's my name. I could publish. I was like, okay, we're going to fail you. You're not listening to me. I'm like, okay. Remember, I failed my photography course.
Oh man. Yeah. So when you in New York, you're still in Hartford, New York, and you became a professional. So did you start to make a living out of this? And then decide to move to LA, or
I'm still living with my parents, so living is kind of, you really can't say I wasn't paying rent. So wouldn't say I was making a living, but I was making some extra bucks. And now I'm graduated college, and I'm like, okay, what do you do after college? What is your career gonna do? I'm going to concerts, I'm taking a lot of pictures, but it's a side thing. It's like I'm going to school, and my father was a tough guy. He was a Marine, and he was, fought in the war, and kind of really wasn't into the music. You're going to get a real job? What are you going to do with your life? What's a concert photographer? It's not a job, whatever. So he tried to discourage me from it, and I didn't want to live under his kind of rules. So I said, I'm going to move to, remember I made a trip to California. I went to NAMM.
Oh, okay.
In California, 1980s. I think it was early 86 because I graduated in 86 in June. I think so. They used to have them in January.
Yeah.
And me and a couple of friends, we went out to NAMM. And I also went to Chicago. They also had a NAMM in Chicago. They had them in New York, and California and Chicago. And I remember I went to NAMM in Chicago also. And I also went to a concert. There was a charity concert called Amnesty International.
I remember that.
And U2, Peter Gabriel, Sting.
Yep.
Well, actually, I think the Police. It was the Police. The band, they already had broken up and got back together. And there's a few other. Lou Reed, I think, was on the bill, and a few other political kind of Amnesty.
So
they were kind of politically influenced bands. Bono's a big mouth. Political, and and so they had all these kinds of bands like that. And like for Live Aid, they had Bob Geldof. He was,
Bob Geldof.
I'm going to feed the poor, or whatever.
It was a thing though, because you had the Live Aid and then the all of it.
If you know the Beatles, when George Harrison, he had the very first benefit concert, the concert for Bangladesh.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
he
Yeah.
believed that. You know, he was a very kind of, you know, he was very spiritual. And I remember he had, you know, and he went over to Bangladesh and met all these people, and like, felt very bad, and kind of had a benefit concert for Bangladesh, and they had all these famous people, Eric Clapton, you know. So he's kind of followed in their footsteps.
Yeah.
And like in '83, they had a concert called the Arms Concert. I don't remember what the acronym was, but it was.
Oh, it stood for something.
Muscular dystrophy or something like that.
Interesting.
Because the guy, the main guy, the guy that was behind it was a guy named Ronnie Lane. He was in the Faces with Ronnie Wood, Rod Stewart.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he was the bass player, and he had some kind of disease. He was suffering from. And so they had a kind of a charity kind of concert for, you know, like a kind of a cancer kind of thing, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so now they have cancer benefits, so they do this.
Like Rock for Ronnie now.
Whatever. Yeah,
Back then, there was a lot of telethons, the March of Dimes.
Exactly.
Jerry Lewis was, but he'd have all kind of
exactly.
musical
Muscular
artists
dystrophy,
as well.
he was
I used to watch those
multiple
every.
sclerosis, I think.
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
And so they had that concert, like an all-star concert. You know, Led Zeppelin had broken up, but Jimmy Page made his first appearance back at this concert. So, you know, it was Jimmy Page. It was and that night he played with Paul Rogers, and it was before the Firm formed. That's how the Firm came.
Okay,
And the Firm became up because they played together. They were friends. You know, they were on the same record label. Bad Company and Led Zeppelin were on the same record label. Actually, I think they had the same manager. I think Peter Grant actually managed them both. Maybe I'm wrong. And they played together a lot. Jimmy Page would, you know, jam with. So that was his new formation. Led Zeppelin was gone. You know, John Bonham died.
Right.
Okay. So let's make it. You know, so they broke up, and so this was his first show after. You know, first time he's playing a concert after that. Ronnie Wood was there, and Eric Clapton was there, and Charlie Watts, and Bill.
Lots of legends.
Yeah, all legends. You know, fantastic. You know, and so I got to see that concert. I took pictures of that, and that was another early charity concert that was a very good, very unique. That preceded things like Live Aid, which I later on went to.
Right,
and that was a big step in my career.
Yeah. Before we get into Live Aid, the year before, you also went to England.
Yes.
To this very well-known, huge concert.
The Monsters of Rock.
Monsters of Rock in Donington.
Names now. This was the first Monsters of Rock.
Yeah.
Now there's a Monsters of Rock cruise.
Yes.
And then there's another Monsters of Rock other things, but and I don't understand the legalities of all that, or who didn't copyright the name or trademark the name.
Right.
But the Monsters of Rock, and I already been there twice.
Before that,
and this is the Donington. I went to Donington in '82. It was the headlining band was Status Quo.
Yeah,
they were big over there. They were nothing in America, but Status Quo was like the biggest.
They were big
band,
in Europe,
very big in and it was bands like Saxon and Riot Heap and Anvil and all these other bands. And then '83 it was ZZ Top, I think, headlined, and bands like Twisted Sister, Meatloaf, Dio's first show.
Yeah, with Holy Diver.
This is with Campbell, the very first. It was '83. So I don't think the album was it first came out like in '83.
Yeah,
really weren't anything. Remember, Dio was like second on a bill. Meatloaf I think played, and a few other bands like that. Then '84 was like the great one.
Yeah,
it was AC/DC headlining, Van Halen, Ozzy Osbourne, Gary Moore, Accept, Y&T, and opening up a band from California called Motley Crue. Crue. They were the first band on. They went on at noon in pure daylight.
Yeah.
And it was their first British appearance.
Yeah.
And they had played Live Aid before that. Not Live Aid, the US Festival.
The US Festival. That was in 82 and 83.
And I went to 83. And that was my very first trip to California. And that was a total disaster.
Was it?
It was,
San Bernardino.
It was in the desert.
I thought 82 was better because I have footage of that.
82 was more mainstream.
Well,
Fleetwood Mac, Tom Petty.
It had Pat Benatar, all of that.
The Grateful Dead played one day. But 83, they kind of divided the days. They had the first day was New Wave Day. The Clash.
I remember
the
that.
Pretenders.
Yeah,
NXS.
Berlin and Missing
maybe,
Persons.
yeah.
Thompson Twins might have even
Yeah,
played
there
that
might have
too.
been. Then the second day was the heavy metal day.
Right.
Van Halen
I remember.
headlining.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Scorpions and Ozzy. This is Ozzy with Jakey Lee now in the band because Jakey Lee's now the new guitar player.
Right.
And then there was bands like Triumph, I think, played there.
Yes, they actually have footage of that now available.
Yes,
Yeah.
Triumph, and then Motley Crue, Quiet Riot.
Y&T, right?
I don't think Y&T was on.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think Y&T was. They were on that Donington show, but they
Oh,
were,
yeah,
I don't think they were on. I don't think they were at the S Festival. And I went to that. If you want to go, we can go back. And that was like a disaster. What happened was it was really hot, and my first trip to California really wasn't prepared. Remember, I took my shirt off, and I remember I got sunburned.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I had the world's worst sunburn I had. I didn't know, you should.
God.
And what happened was we had rented a car, and we parked in what we thought was a legal spot, but it was illegal. A whole parking lot, so they towed like every car away. So and all our stuff was in there. Luckily, I had my camera with me, but like our clothing was there. We stayed overnight. It was a 3-day festival. You'd stay over. We were going to camp out, or maybe go to a hotel near there or something like that. We had no car now. No, we couldn't, and it wouldn't get. And then they found out there was a weird thing, something wrong with the rental agreement. They couldn't give us the car back.
Oh, no.
But they let us get our stuff out. They said, okay, here, go get your stuff, and we'll drop you off at a police station, then it'll help you out. Well, the police station wouldn't even let us in.
Yeah.
And that's funny. Whenever I go to California, I pass that police station, like that station.
You'll always remember that.
Yeah, I remember we had to hitchhike back to
what a mess.
festival.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, it was like everything that went wrong. And and so I didn't, really didn't take after the first day, I really didn't want to take pictures. I kind of just I photographed all these bands before. I'd photographed Van Halen before. I already photographed Ozzy Osbourne. Judas Priest was on the bill, right?
Oh yeah,
That was the other band, and I already photographed the Scorpions. I already photographed Judas Priest. So it's like. Back then, you had to pay for film, if you didn't have it, and film cost money. And now you could buy a digital card, and you never had to buy film again, and you could use that thing a billion times. And back then, it was film, and you had to buy film, you had to pay for the developing costs.
Yeah,
So I photographed that band, but I don't need to photograph again. Now it's different. So I didn't have a pass for the S Festival.
Okay.
I didn't have a pass.
So you were just
so it was very hard to get beat up at and especially a heavy metal day. Heavy metal fans are more aggressive than anything. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't, you didn't want to have fun. Same with like the British festival. When I would go to Donington, and then but then the next year, I'm starting getting photo passes, and so on. So it changed.
Yeah.
Even though I already had a photo pass, the S Festival went around was during the Memorial Day, '83. I didn't get my first pass until maybe like a month later.
Okay.
That's when I became professional. So I didn't. So I already was back.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
But so I didn't know how to apply to even get a photo pass. Not like I even tried.
Yeah.
No. So.
But for Live Aid, did you have photo pass for Live Aid?
No, I didn't. That was another. And I already was a professional photographer.
That's mid-'80s, 85?
1985.
Yeah.
Okay, and Live Aid, they announced the British one first. That was the great bit.
Yeah.
It was Queen.
Wembley Stadium, I think.
Wembley Stadium.
And then
There
Philadelphia.
was bands like The Who, Queen, David Bowie, Status Quo,
Black Sabbath.
I was at home
No,
watching
Black
it
Sabbath
on
wasn't
MTV all
Black
day
Sabbath played
long.
the Philadelphia one.
Yeah.
Oh, they did. Okay.
The American one.
Yeah.
Really wasn't any heavy metal there.
Yeah.
Queen was probably Queen or The Who were like the heaviest band in the English one.
Yeah.
The Boomtown Rats.
Oh, Bob Geldof,
They
right?
had Ultravox. They had Adam Ants. They had Dire Straits, who were just now big, very big band then because of the money for that. That was when they were really huge.
Yeah.
Sting played. Phil Collins played. So really, there's always a story about we were talking about Thin Lizzy, and Bob Geldof and Phil Lynott were very close friends.
Okay.
Apparently, Phil Lynott. This was when Phil was heavy into drugs, and apparently there's a story that you could read now on the internet that he wasn't invited. There was kind of, and Phil was kind of had his feelings were hurt,
Oh.
Why wasn't I on that, bill? Why wasn't Thin Lizzy on that bill? Thin Lizzy was a big band in England.
Yeah.
But getting back to Live Aid, so I had a photo agency that I worked for. That's what back then you had, like Associated Press. So I worked for a company called Retina. That was a photo agency. Basically, if a magazine or someone wants to publish photos, they're not going to go to 50 different photographers and say, send us your photos. They're going to go to an agency. Send us all your photos that you have of your photographers. So basically, you were a bunch of a union. It's like an agency is called like a union, kind of, just like how actors are part of an agency, CAA or something like that. And movies says, "Oh, send us your best actor." Okay, well, let's find this actor. It's a way they cut corners. So I remember going to my agent and saying, I'm going to come over to this thing in England. Can I get a photo panel? Well, let's see. We'll send an application. They find out I'm American. They're really not catering to the American press. It's a British concert.
Yeah.
And then they announced the American version. But I already made my arrangements. I was already every summer I was going to England. It was already my 5th trip.
Wow.
81, 82, 83, 84, my 5th trip going to England every summer. I was like, that was my unique thing.
Yeah.
My unique thing was going to England from America. It was unheard of back then.
Yeah.
And take pictures of concerts there and get all these bands that you never heard of there. I was into they have the new wave of heavy metal, bands like Saxon.
Yeah.
Bands like, didn't come to America a lot. You get pictures, and so that's, all these different kind of bands, Status Quo, or even though I really didn't photograph them.
Yeah. But did you build like a network with European colleagues at that time?
Yeah, that's kind of was. It's like a network of photographers.
Yeah.
But they didn't give me a photo pass. But I said to my agent, I said, you know what? Just get me a ticket. I'm really good at sneaking my camera into concerts. I'll figure it out. But 30 rolls of film. Had a backpack. And I put it on a backpack, and I said, "You're gonna have to lend me a big lens. I don't have She sent me a big lens, like these are the sports photographers use.
Oh yeah, those big
300 with a big wide, because it's a fast lens as they call it. They make it wider, and you have to give me. But I can't hold that camera; it's very heavy. So give me a monopod.
Yeah.
And give me all the stuff, and I really put it in the backpack. I remember I went early. So I was one of the first people in. It's 90,000 people. They're not going to really search people. There's no metal detectors back then. And people are going to be there for 14, 15 hours. They're going to bring bottles of water.
Yeah.
So there wasn't shootings and shows or then.
Yeah, and it wasn't like, like you could bring bottle of water.
Yeah.
It would bring, in England, it was big to bring in plastic bottles of things. Yeah. And then there would be plastic bottle fights. Okay. Then they would use the plastic bottles to go to the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
Because
you don't want to lose your spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
British have these, So I remember I just ran in, got the concert, kind of found a spot halfway back.
Yeah.
Actually, there's actually a photo of me. Someone recently sent me a photo. They kind of spotted me in the crowd.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
I have it somewhere. It was on Facebook, but it's like you could really know it's me. I could see my hair. You could see like a big lens, and many people were in the audience. All the professional photographers were up there. If you've seen the movie or you saw Live Aid, you saw the whole row of photographers right there to say I wasn't one of those. Yeah. I was back. I was by front of house or the soundboard, the mixing board. That's where I was taking pictures. I had a big lens.
Yeah.
Get pictures. So that's why I went to Live Aid. I remember, and I didn't even after I shot the film, I remember I had to meet my agent after the concert, give him all my film, and he got him developed me overnight because he would need him to get published the next day.
Oh yeah.
Kind of kind of newspaper press. And I didn't even get to see. It's not like I got to see get to the photo, develop myself. Say, oh, here, take this one thing. I didn't even see him. After him, I saw him maybe 2 weeks later, because he, you can come to the office, you can come out, so on. So I don't even know, so they already were sending him out. It was and I never did things that way.
Yeah.
And they really didn't have a another photographer photographing it. I think they might have one person in the pit that worked for them, but I was kind of, aggressive on it. And then, like I said, and in America, the Live Aid in America, that's when Led Zeppelin played. They did the reunion.
Right.
And Phil Collins played both. Elton John played England.
Didn't Rolling Stones or Tina Turner?
Tina Turner and Mick Jagger.
Was that the Philadelphia
that
one?
was the Philadelphia
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Because the Rolling Stones were broke.
That was August. I think it was hot.
No, it was July.
It was July. Okay. Madonna
Same day.
played.
Yeah, Madonna
she was
played.
really new at it, but she was.
We were just saying Black Sabbath, Judas
Yeah.
Priest played.
Yes.
So they had more metal. Beach Boys played. So they're very eclectic kind of, mixed kind of music
Yeah.
on there. So,
And that was amazing. I remember I watched it on TV.
yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, MTV. I have like so much because I had a VCR then.
Yeah.
And I have evidence. I think I probably still have them all like recorded, like 8 hours worth.
Yeah.
Or 6 hours worth.
That's part of the things that are in my garage.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get to that because that's a good segue into when you came back from Live Aid and all that, then you decided to move to LA to really start your career.
This is 85 and 86. I graduated college.
Yeah.
And I decided to move over to LA.
Yeah. Because that's where everything was happening.
It was more of the music business. I think it was easier to live and it was easier for me to be away from my parents.
Yeah.
Mostly my father. My father was more of my mom would, moms let you get away with anything. Mom's always the good person, and dad's the bad person. It could be the opposite sometimes.
Yeah.
But in my case, it was my dad was the tough guy. My mom, go ask your mom. My mom, whatever.
Yeah.
So mom will let you do anything.
But they must have been heartbroken
parents
when
same
you
way.
decided to move cross
No,
country.
they understood.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still planes. You can still fly back. They were happy that you're actually, they actually got rid of you. Move on. You're old enough. You're 20.
And you had
you're 22 years
proven
old.
yourself.
Get out of the house.
Yeah. And you had proven yourself
Yes.
that you are actually you are a professional photographer.
Sure.
And so you went to LA, and let's just talk about that accident. Well, not an accident, but the unfortunate event.
It was an unfortunate event.
Yeah.
I remember I got to LA, got myself an apartment, and now I had all my belongings, which is I was a kind of a collector. I liked records. I was a big music fan. Wasn't just a photographer. I was a music fan that became a photographer. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes you have a professional photographer. Oh, we're going to send you to a concert. Or send you to a sporting event. But I was a music fan. I had record albums. I had ticket stubs. I had T-shirts. I had and my photos,
Backstage passes.
Everything, all kinds of stuff, all collectible kind of stuff, magazines, and my father put the stuff, shipped it to California. Something happened, and I still don't know the real story or whatever happened. I'll never know the real story because, unfortunately, everyone is dead. My parents have passed away. No way to get to the story. No one knows, whatever happened. But my stuff never got to California. There was a robbery of some kind of the moving truck, and the stuff was never recovered, and I had lost, and nothing ever got there. I literally had to start my photography over.
How horrible!
Lost all my photos, lost all my negatives, all my slides, all my record, everything I had to do with concerts. I was like, gone. There was a few that survived because, when you were an agent. When you had an agency, you had your pictures there. Because back then, it's not like now where things are digitized. You actually had the original slide at the agency. And that was what they used. They would send the original slides. Even there was instances even that where sometimes they send these slides to a magazine. The magazine sometimes lose them.
Yeah.
Or some intern decides, I'm going to pocket this. Or something like that. And there was many instances of that.
Yeah.
There was a big story about an agency in New York that the owner got sick and she wasn't paying rent when she was sick, and the landlord confiscated all the slides and put everything in a dumpster because there was nothing to handle. and you would find like pictures of at Woods, pictures from Woodstock, or very memorable in a dumpster, and you see them wind up on eBay one day.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of instances like that.
But it's so crazy. I mean, it's like, because it's art.
Yes.
It's like, okay, I'm going to take these Picassos and throw them in the dumpster.
But people didn't know what they were, didn't know. He never, it wasn't it's like a TV set where he could say, like, what's a photo? It's like, it was hard to even.
You couldn't tell. Did you use proof sheets and stuff and have those sometimes? Because that's when you can really see. But
mostly proof sheets were black and white.
Yeah, true. I would make them in the dark room.
Slides.
Yeah.
Black and white, you still took negatives.
Right.
And you had a proof sheet. But when you took color film, it was slides. And so you had the slides. But then, people don't know, people that don't know that, a thief or a hoodlum, or whatever you want to call it.
Value.
You're like, what are these? This is garbage. This is garbage, and they don't even know what they're throwing out.
Yeah.
And so on. And unfortunately, my stuff probably was thrown out.
Yeah.
And
it's in landfill.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really sad.
Yeah, so I really had to start all over again. But like I said, some of it survived because they were at my agency. So I had actually maybe 10 or 15% of the photos, and sometimes the really good ones.
Yeah.
Which were at the agency because you only sent them so much.
Yeah.
You didn't send them every single picture you took. You send them the best.
Right.
The best of the batch.
Yeah.
So I would just I was able to recover some. So I did get some back, but unfortunately the majority didn't.
Yeah.
And it was very heartbreaking to me,
I understand that, yeah.
It discouraged me, it's like, oh, do I go on? Do I not go on? Do I, lost everything,
That's almost a decade worth of work, right?
You hear about things, it's like, I think there was a story about like Metallica, where Kirk Hammett was like in a cab or something, and he had everything on like a tape or something.
Yeah.
And lost his tapes and left it in the cab and disappeared.
Yeah, songs.
Had to repeat songs.
Yeah.
Like, back then you didn't have you wrote down songs. You lose the lyrics. I mean, you wrote it on a napkin. You're thinking. Back then, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't technology. We didn't back up our film. There was no computer. There wasn't a computer. It wasn't a thing to back up our film.
Yeah. It's just one of a kind.
You didn't have copies. It was all original, all one of a kinds. Now, now it's like, I have my photos on my this place, that place. I'm on clouds. I'm on hard drives. Now you have all. If I lost one, I still have another copy.
Yeah.
It's a different world, different technology.
And just recently, you saw some of your photos on Facebook.
It's a funny story. I'm a member of a lot of groups.
Yeah.
And this group was a Van Halen group. And a guy, and I'm looking through there, and a guy makes a post, my mom was cleaning out my basement, and and I found these great, I don't know where I got them from, these great Van Halen photos. And, posting like my photos.
The ones you were missing, right?
Or some of them, Like, how do you get those? Like, how did they end up on there? And, because those were from my prints, and no one had my prints because those prints were lost. So I'm like communicating with him, and he thinks I'm some kind of idiot troll that's just, this is my photo. People claim if they find something on Google, I posted this is my photo. No, it's not your photo. You didn't take that photo. You found the photo on Google. It's not your photo. So I'm trying, and it took me a few kind of attempts to kind of private message the guy, and he finally responded to me. Okay. You say, and I showed him. I remember two of the pictures he posted. He posted 6 photos. Two of them were actually published photos. I brought some of my old clippings.
Yeah.
Okay, and one of them was. Let's open up the secret thing here.
That's such a cool story, though. I mean,
yeah. So, like I said, it gets even cooler because the guy, like I said, the guy was kind of like, okay, I kind of believe you. So, like, one of them was this photo, which is actually my first photo one of my first photos I ever got published.
Yeah.
When I met the guy from Guitar Magazine,
Yeah.
Music Alive was another subsidiary of this. It was more of a scholastic thing.
Yeah.
It was like given out to schools, to where, the classes.
Yeah.
And
That's
they used my
Eddie
photo.
Van Halen.
And he had a print of this photo
Oh yeah.
on there. And I'm like, I could even show you it's mine. I could prove it to you it's mine. And okay, and he hadn't even gone through all the stuff yet. He was like, and Mom would clean him, here's a box of stuff, just like I have, like a box of stuff. Like here's, all of a sudden, he's looking through the photos, and he starts finding letters. Apparently, we were friends, and we were like pen pals. He was in Amsterdam, I was in and he goes, and it's like reading this thing, and so, yeah, we never actually met, but we tried to meet, and you didn't, I guess it was our schedules were, because I was in Amsterdam. I would go to Amsterdam when I go to England.
Yeah.
But I met a friend of his, and so he said, bro, sending me these letters. I got a copy of it. He saved the letters. He was 45 years old, like handwritten letters.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I went to see Van Halen at Madison Square Garden. Here's a great photo. I saw Judas Priest. I sent this picture of Vandenberg. Okay, so
because it's Dutch.
Vandenberg, so that Dutch band, and he knew Vandenberg, and I said to him, he said, all these kinds of things. Because Vandenberg just first played America. They had that one hit, Burning Heart.
Yeah.
Sudden there, when Vandenberg played, Metallica was third on the bill. Talking about bands that were early on a bill, then all of a sudden you big bands, Metallica was even though they're from San Francisco, they got signed by an East Coast record company, Megaforce.
Megaforce, yeah.
Johnny Z, who's now deceased, but he kind of found them, and he was into heavy metal, and it's funny, he was actually a Deadhead, but he also he liked metal too. He kind of liked a variety of it, and he picked up on this band Metallica, and this was before speed metal. Or whatever you call what's
thrash metal.
Thrash metal was anything.
But I think it was called speed metal in the beginning.
So and who's this? I heard this. Like, why are they playing so fast? Why are they so heavy? It's like, what is this garbage? I like more, Judas Priest, or they didn't have any. Metallica didn't have kind of hits.
Yeah.
So and they would always put them. But this guy would try to get them on every bill. So he put them, the first band, Metallica. I hate that band, Metallica again. I'm not going to take any pictures of them. Who's this band Metallica? They'll never make it. They suck.
You were so right.
Yeah.
God.
So like a lot of my early Metallica pictures didn't get published, and so like this is one of the first books I contributed to. That's a picture of
Chris Holmes.
Chris Holmes. That's my photo. Chris Holmes. The book is filled with my photos. My Dee Snider photo. Tag them all here.
Yeah.
Queensryche. This is okay.
James Hetfield.
There we go. This is 1984. Now,
Ride the Lightning.
This is in Paris, France.
Oh, okay.
What happened was that same month when I went to Donington in '84, that bill we talked about with Motley Crue, and which is this is my photo too, and that's from Donington. Now, a week later, they also had a heavy metal festival in Paris, France, and it was like Dio and Ozzy and Metallica was on the bill, and a few other bands were on the bill. Venom was on the bill, and they were more of a, they never play. It was a whole weird thing with what happened with Venom, but all these bands played, and so I got this. Now Metallica was kind of some, but so it's an old vintage picture of Metallica from 1984. So 42 years ago.
Yeah.
Think of that. So on. It's
And these photo books, I mean, you can't really find them anymore.
No, you don't even find magazines anymore. You don't even have, maybe British magazines or anything like that. You have, they don't make these things anymore. Or if someone's doing it, they're self-publishing them or something. There are some books. Yeah. I mean, I know Alex Van Halen's putting out a Van Halen book. He had his one book, and now he's doing that. And at least one of my photos I know is in the book.
Okay.
Which funny thing was, which was another one of those photos that guy had.
Yeah. Oh,
You know, it was and so like that's this Metal Hammer magazine. That's my Rob Halford photo.
Wow.
On the cover there, and so on. Guitar Magazine would have posters in every issue. This is my Angus Young photo.
God.
You know, and they had a fold-out poster in every issue.
Yeah.
You know, guitar for the practice musician. That was my connection. That was I was there kind of staff photographer. I was there concert photographer. I didn't take the cover photos. You know, they would have a studio guy take the cover photos. I took the concert photos.
Yeah.
So, you know, like here's a Quiet Riot book with some of my photos in it. Yeah, it's going through it. Right here, like, you know, so this is a magazine with Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison was a big part of my career. I liked comedy. I saw a lot of comedians. Saw George Carlin early in his career. Saw Cheech and Chong. I saw Richard Pryor. And Sam Kinison he had that memorable scene from Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. He was Rodney Dangerfield's kind of protege in a way.
Yeah.
Rodney kind of made him bigger. Rodney didn't discover him, but Rodney kind of
put him on his wings.
Put him on the map.
Yeah.
And he had a young comedian special, and Sam was one of the young comedians. Move out to California in 1986. I get there, and I drive past on Sunset Strip on Sunset Boulevard, and there's a place called the Comedy Store, which is very famous.
Yeah.
Where all the comedians made it. The Comedy Store was like, that's where they all started. And they had a big sign, Sam Kinison this weekend. I'm like, wow, I love Sam Kinison. I want to go. Actually, my father was in town. And father, you know, Sam's a dirty comedian. I don't think my father was really kind of, you know, a little uncomfortable, you know. And, you know, and we sat in the front row, and, you know, and Sam's like, you know, yelling at like, I could tell my father was uncomfortable. So then next day I'm going to see Ted Nugent. I'm photographing Ted Nugent and he's playing in the Santa Monica Civic Center. And the bill is Ted Nugent, Black and Blue, and a band called Guns N' Roses. Who's Guns N' Roses? I never heard of Guns N' Roses. I just moved to California. Never heard of Guns N' Roses. They weren't even signed. It was 1986.
Oh yeah.
Their first album came out in '87. But they had a big following in California, and which is how they got on the bill.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. I didn't know who they were. And I remember I'm backstage and I'm waiting for Ted because you had to do Ted Nugent was one of the few people. Now, whenever you go to a concert, if you go to a concert, you always have to sign something, sign photo releases. Back then, there was only a few. Ted Nugent was one of them. Madonna was one. I remember a few other people. But we didn't sign. But I decided to meet up with Ted's manager. So I'm waiting in the back room, sitting in a green room, and all of a sudden, like kind of a chair like this, and there's another guy sitting there, and there's a guy named Carl LeBove. He's a comedian, and he was Sam's best friend, Sam Kinison's best friend. They started together, and I recognized him because he opened up the show for Sam Kinison the night before. I said, hey, I know you. He was wearing like the same jacket, and we started talking, and he tells me Sam Kinison. I'm like, oh, really? Sam's here? Like I didn't know Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I knew of him. I'm a big fan, but I didn't, you know, I'm like, what's he doing at a concert? You know, he's a comedian.
Yeah.
Concert, you know. Oh, he's friends with Ted Nugent. And back there, I'll introduce you to him. Oh, great. I worked for Billboard magazine at the time. I was Billboard staff photographer. And I said, you know, it would be great to take a picture of Ted and Sam together, and I'll get it in Billboard because I had pull. But I said, oh, this is a Hollywood picture. They would put it in they had a kind of entertainment kind of thing. Like a little column that my friend was the writer, and he kind of, you know, every week goes, take a picture. I'll feature one of your photos every week, you know, in Billboard magazine. So I said so he introduced me to Sam and Ted. I tell Sam, I worked for Billboard magazine. Sam wasn't anybody yet. Sam was somebody, but it wasn't, you know, he wasn't really a big comedian yet. His album really wasn't. I don't think his album came out until '87, but he was on the Young Comedian special, and some people. Hollywood, I mean, the people that hung out at the Comedy Store knew he was, and he was an up-and-coming comedian. And we all meet, and I tell him, oh, it's great. Yeah, cool, that's cool. You know, and he believed me, and he trusted me. And we hung out after the show. I came backstage come backstage after the show, and we hang out. And we're going to the Comedy Store after this. Oh, come with us. Meet us there. I had my car. I drove to the Comedy Store. I grabbed my camera. Bring a camera. I took a few pictures, and I was kind of unheard of at the Comedy Store because cameras weren't really a big thing at Comedy Store. A comedian, it's they don't want people taking pictures while they're being doing their act.
Right.
Unlike a concert where they really don't see people. In a small club, a small comedy club, you're going to see people.
Yeah, it could be distracting.
Distracting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I remember I took a few pictures. Sam went on. They were all friends. And all of a sudden, 1 a.m, we're still hanging out. Like, wow, this is great. I'm 22 years old. I first moved to L.A. a month ago. I'm already hanging out with Ted Nugent and Sam Kinison, and then we go to Thai food. I didn't even know what Thai food was. I had no idea what Thai. We had Chinese food in New York.
Right.
What's Thai food? Okay. Oh, you'll love it.
It's a new thing.
Went to Hollywood, and took pictures of, and so we all went and hung out. So I'm at a Thai food restaurant with a bunch of comedians, Sam and Ted. And so it was great. It was fantastic. Then Sam's like, oh, you got to come to the Comedy Store. Sometimes I have famous people come by and so on because I'm getting big. You have to come by with your camera, take some pictures. Like, oh, great, I'll do that. Every night I'm going to see Sam Kinison. He's playing every night. If Sam would go on, Sam was like, he ran the show there. He was like the number one comedian at the time. So he's like, if I want to go on, I'm going on.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, we have a special guest, Sam Kinison, is going to want to do a set of, 20 minutes. Yeah, he'd be on there for 60 minutes. It's like
Screaming.
So like he'd bump a bunch of comedians, this is my big shot, and now I got bumped by Sam Kinison. That's tough shit, So you're yelling and screaming at the audience. It was the newest thing. I was like, no one ever saw a comedian like him.
Yeah.
Right.
He really was. He was, And so here, Las Vegas Weekly did an article about Sam, and they featured some of my photos back then. This is way back in 2007. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
2007. So, and Sam had already been dead Sam died in 92. He was dead for 15 years, but they're still talking to him back then.
Wasn't he close to near Vegas when he died?
Yeah. He actually, Laughlin. He had a gig in Laughlin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, which is not far out of here. And basically, Sam liked to drive. So Sam drove, and he had a group of comedians. He would travel in a kind of a group. It's the opening acts. It was all his friends. And his manager, which is his brother, and the guy Carl LeBove, who I met, and a few other comedians that were with him. They were all in a van behind him. But Sam liked to drive his car. Sam had a Trans Am, red Trans Am, or Corvette, and he, unfortunately, he's driving there. And so they're kind of a caravan. He's driving front, and the van is driving behind him. And it's a 2-lane highway. And some kid coming the other way wanted to pass a slow car in front of him. And he was in a pickup truck and wanted to pass. And so he goes into the oncoming traffic lane to go past. Didn't see the car, or he had a few beers. They said they found a bunch of beers in the cab of his pickup truck, and he hit Sam head on.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Sam didn't see it, or there's no, and even the comedians, the people that were in the van, they were like, oh, look, they were trying to communicate. Like they can't call, need to have phones, and they call Sam, hey, look out, the guys are free. You wouldn't have communication.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Sam was killed in that car accident. And I remember how, I remember getting the news. And the news traveled in a different way back then. It's 1992. We didn't have internet. Now you hear a person died, all of a sudden it's all over the internet. Person dies. It's all of a sudden news everywhere. TMZ gets it, or this and that.
Right.
Now it's like. And when it comes to, I heard Sam Kinison was killed in a car. No way. So, then kind of the buzz went around. And, unfortunately, that what happened.
And you were very close friends at that time.
Yes, but already at that time, I was already out of the crew. What happened was, Sam Kinison was very involved in drugs.
Yeah.
Big, this drug history, and he liked to party. I was kind of a naive kind of kid from New York. Of course, I knew drugs, but, and the 80s were kind of, cocaine and drugs were kind of, that was the scene. It wasn't like a bad thing. Cocaine was more of a status symbol.
Yeah.
You hear about Studio 54 in New York and the cocaine. It was like, oh, you were back, you're in a special room in the VIP Studio 54 and you're doing cocaine. That's how people, that was a status symbol. Well, Sam liked to do cocaine, liked to party, liked to drink. And I was like, wow, I want to hang out with Sam as much as I can. Oh, here, David, here, do this line of cocaine. I didn't know. So before you know it, it led to more, and and really I started becoming, addicted to cocaine or wanting to do cocaine anymore, becoming and it was a part of my career to kind of, led me down some crazy roads, and so on. And some of the bands, you hear about Guns N' Roses' early history, or you hear about Poison's early history with drugs, or you hear about all these kinds of things. And, and kind of, or Metallica or Megadeth. Megadeth, you're Dave Mustaine's crazy, drug, So in the 80s, I got heavily, and it kind of got in my career kind of bad. I had a bad reputation. Oh, that's that guy that's always high when he's taking pictures. Okay. Something like that. And, so some people didn't want me around. Some people did, weren't because they were partiers. They did want me around.
Because you brought cocaine.
Yeah, I always had cocaine in my pocket. Oh, that's the guy. Yeah, let's go to the bathroom. Blue bumpy. Okay. So cool. You'll get your photo pass, whatever. Whatever. You'll get good access. Yeah. That's it. But then some people that wanted to keep their bands off drugs, didn't want this guy. I said that seedy guy, that creepy guy with the always had drugs. You still have those people around. You always see. Became, and so in 1989, which a couple years later, I finally got in really big trouble with drugs. I got caught with drugs and by the police, and my career had to go. I had to go to rehab.
Oh, okay.
Went to rehab. Part of my sentence was because I was my first offense. I wasn't a bad person. I wasn't a person. Oh, he's got all this big rap sheet. I never, I was never arrested before. So I had a lawyer, and he negotiated. Said, "Oh, he's a good kid. He's just has a little problem. Let him go to rehab. If he completes the program, maybe you would defer his sentence." Okay, that's fine. Judge accepted that. Now I go into rehab, and I have to stop hanging around your crew. That's what they tell you. You go into AA, or you start going to anonymous meetings. Alcoholics Anonymous or Cocaine Anonymous. And how part of the recovery system is stop hanging around with the people. Like a gang member gets arrested, you can't go back, get out and start hanging out with the gang members, or you're going to violate your probation and get back into jail. So I had to stop going to concerts, stop being a photographer, and start being and I did good at it. I mean, I became sober right away. Mm-hmm. I didn't have, this, you'll hear stories of people, oh, this guy tried to get sober, he fell off the wagon. I didn't. I was scared straight. I had that thing where, you get scared straight. It's like I went to jail. I was in county jail for 4 days. Yeah. And I remember I had to make the call to my parents. My mom was devastated. Thought it was like, whatever. And again, but my mom was like, oh, my kid's not going to go to jail. It's like, so she did whatever she could to get me out. Yeah. I mean, good lawyer and so on, and got me that deal to where, but then I had to stop. So I went to rehab and got a straight job. I became a fabric salesman. Oh, yeah. Which was the business my parents were in. My parents were in the clothing business.
Yeah. Wow, I would have loved that.
So I started being a fabric, and my father didn't, and that was the business. What happened was I was friends with my father's sales representative. Father had a New York company that sold fabric, and they had a California fabric representative, and me and him became friends. Yeah. He says, like, oh, well, you need a job. I could use a guy around the office. And my father was like, oh, you don't want to hire him. He's not into that stuff. He's not into, he's got long hair. He's got, and they got to start hiring me. I started becoming a good salesman. Yeah. I actually became successful doing it. So the whole 90s, I was a different person. I wasn't into, I went to a few concerts. But basically, it was a great job. I made 6 figures in 1990, 92 to 97. Made 6 figures a year. made a lot of money, more money than I ever made in photography.
Yeah.
And but unfortunately, my father died. At a very young age. He was 59. He died in 1992. So right after I started working for him, and started making money, which he was happy about, all of a sudden he had a accident and he died. And so 6 months later, it kind of the company we worked for, his partner took over, and his partner didn't want anything to do with his son, the son. So he said he fired me, but there was a spinoff of a company that my father started with a few young guys that were clothing designers. And so, but we liked David. We're going to hire him. So they kept me on, and I started making, so I went with them, and, and so still doing successful. And then unfortunately, a few years later, my mom passed away. And my mom was kind of like, you say, your mom was your rock. Mom was, mom, your mom. So, I'm going to say my mama's boy, but my mom was, because my father was already dead. And my mom was the one that got me out of jail. My mom was the one that saved me in a way. My father was like, I let him rot in jail. He'll learn a lesson. Mom, no, my son's not going to go to jail. So, and I'm still living in L.A. I'm still living in California. I would go back and forth every now and then. My mom was sick. My mom had cancer, and I remember I'd go back and forth and visit her every time. And unfortunately, she passed, and very young. I mean, I'm older now than both my parents made it to. I'm 62. My parents didn't make it to 62.
Yeah.
And they died in the 1990s. So they didn't get to see a lot of what I was only 28, 31, 28 when my father died. I was a young kid still.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing something else. I'm no longer a photographer, but I'm still getting published. My archives still have some, value. And my agency's selling them and getting them published and these things and so on, and all these other different, publications, and I'm making some money, but I'm off to a different career already. Then, then I did some other things, but, and then I became a poker player, but we're not going to get into that. We're here for the photography part. This is
but I mean, that's also part of your career, right?
Yes, it is part of my career, and that's why I moved to Las Vegas.
Oh, that was why then. Okay.
I moved to Las Vegas because I was coming here because I played in the World Series of Poker. I became a professional poker player, and I would come here a lot. And someone came to me and said, "Oh, you should move here. It's cheap to live here, and it's not. You're coming here a lot." And so I remember I went in house hunting and got a good house then, and moved to Vegas. I've been here for 26 years. My longest residence is Las Vegas. Even longer than I lived in New York. I lived in New York for my first 22 years.
Yeah.
Then I moved to LA for 15 years, and now I moved to Las Vegas. And,
wow.
And then, a number of years when you guys moved here, or you began to, and then we became friends and so on. And that's how we all know each other. We all know each other through the scene, the hard rock scene or the heavy metal scene, or, the vamp scene or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and then, and recently I got back into photography, but I was out of photography for 30-something years. I had stopped taking pictures in 1989 and didn't pick it back up until 2022.
Okay.
I picked it up, and I really didn't even know how to use these digital cameras. I didn't even own a camera.
Yeah.
Someone said to me, I wanted to go see Wasp.
Yeah.
Wasp was playing at
it was House of Blues, right?
House of Blues.
The 40th anniversary?
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
We were there.
Was that the one? Was that the 82? No, I think 80. I think the next one's the 40th anniversary.
Oh, okay, yeah. There was,
I think
yeah,
the
it
first
was
one
2
this
years
is that
before.
comeback.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go see them. And I knew the booking agent. And I called the booking agent, and I guess he didn't really know. And we had Facebook, and so I'd always post my photos on Facebook. I'm posting old photos. People didn't know I didn't take pictures anymore. And the guy, says, "So you bring a camera?" I'm like, "My camera? I don't even own a camera. I'm not a photographer anymore. Don't you know that?" It's like, "Oh, shit, I forgot." But and then I'm friendly with a lot of the new photographers that were around these days, and so I kind of I had some great pictures of Wasp.
Yeah.
From back then, Wasp was one of the I got good access to Wasp. There's one in here. There's a great one in here. so I wanted to go, and so I spoke to the photographers, and they always would say to me, "You should take pictures again." I'm like,
Yeah.
There's too many photographers. I was really discouraged about, because these days there's lots of photographers. There's too many photographers, I think.
Well, it's more like everyone can
Everyone's a
be
photographer.
one.
Now,
Yeah.
see, back then when I was taking pictures, cameras were rare. You had to carry equipment around. You didn't have a phone in your pocket. You couldn't take it. When now, people weren't into photography.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, I want to take selfies, or people, you get a piece of, once phones started taking pictures. Remember when phones started, they weren't taking pictures.
Yeah.
And they weren't even taking videos.
Nope.
Now it's video, making things
4K.
on iPhone and
Yeah,
so on.
now no one is using it to call people anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Now, and they would encourage me. So a friend of mine lent me his camera and give me a quick lesson. I had taken pictures I remember in 2003, 2005, the band Cream, Eric Clapton, Jack Bruce, Ginger Baker did a reunion concert in New York, and I was a big Cream fan. And I went to the concert, I had front row seats. I remember going back to New York, and I remember asking my friend Eddie Maluk, who's another top photographer. He was one of the best photographers in the business back then. And he lived right near Madison Square Garden. And he said, "Yeah, you could borrow one of my cameras." And I really didn't know. And this is part of the, he lent me his camera, and then I snuck it in again.
Yeah.
Didn't have a photo pass.
Yeah.
I must have sitting in third row, whatever, and taking, going back to my roots,
Yeah.
Even though I was a professional photographer, I really wasn't a professional photographer anymore.
Yeah.
And I still know how to get my camera into Madison Square Garden. The rules didn't change. 2003, they still didn't have metal detectors, or didn't care. Didn't give a shit. And, I was able to, so I remember, I shot maybe once or twice between that span of 89 to 2022. So now I'm taking pictures again, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Pictures aren't as rare as they used to be. Go to a concert, now everyone's got a phone in the front. Mm-hmm. So even people are posting their own photos on Instagram. Everyone's got photos. Photos aren't special anymore, I don't think.
Yeah.
They're really not. I really think a photo from a concert or a video from a concert is nothing special. Back then,
because it was different back in the day when you had you waited a full month, and then you had a magazine.
You had to get the hard copy to see a picture.
So pictures. So you get a picture published. It wasn't immediate. Like now, I take a picture and I'm putting it on my Instagram within an hour. I'm taking it. Back then, you took a picture at a concert. Magazines were published 3 months in advance.
Yeah.
It took 3 months.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, a review, you see a concert, in January, the April issue of the magazine all of a sudden has reviews from a concert in January.
Yeah.
Because that's how, that's how far out things were. Now everything's different.
Everything's so fast now.
They have websites now. They have,
the web, exactly.
The web, the webzines or what. That's why you don't see magazines, because everything is on the internet.
Yeah. No one wants to buy anything anymore.
And also now, and people are fans are contributing, so people are not getting paid, and that's just a whole nother topic that you don't want to get into, because it brought down how photographers get paid for their work.
Yeah,
and it discouraged a lot of photographers to no longer do it because they don't make the money they used to make.
So if you go back to like when you were in LA, when you took all these photos, so 86, 87, 88, I mean, you were part of the inner circle. I mean, you knew everyone.
Just like here.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people here.
Yeah.
I go to a concert. I'm at a concert. I went to see John Way yesterday. I must have like 15 people in the audience. I'm hanging out with my friends.
Yeah.
Where'd Dave go? Oh, he's saying another friend. Saying another friend. Like,
But because you're still
a celebrity kind of thing.
You're still a celebrity. I mean, people still know that you are and have been a professional photographer, taking all these legendary
way back and way back in the day.
Yeah.
I said I started when I was 16. I'm 62.
Right. Yeah.
So 46 years ago, I basically took my first photograph.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 1980, a long time ago.
It's a long time ago, yeah.
Music scene was different. You know, bands were different. Now back then, you went to a concert tickets were cheaper, much cheaper.
Way
cheaper.
Yeah.
And and back then concerts weren't a thing for bands making money. They made money selling records.
Yeah.
So they would perform in concert to promote their album. Now it's the opposite.
Yeah.
They don't put out albums. They play concerts, and they're getting
That's where they're getting money.
millions of dollars to play a concert. You know, we were talking about Metallica. Metallica's playing, what, 30 shows at the Sphere?
Yeah,
they're making,
and it was sold out in minutes.
It's going to change. I mean, I think a lot of scalpers brought it up, and that's the whole controversy with tickets these days.
Yeah, because Ticketmaster is such
it's a crooked system.
Yeah.
It really is. Well, but in a way, they kind of ticket scalping was a thing. And what happened was, okay, you buy a concert ticket for $12, and all of a sudden you're a scalper, and you're selling for $300, and like Ticketmaster's like, we're selling a ticket for $12. Somehow, this guy's making all this money on it, but we want to be part of that action.
Yeah.
And that's what they became.
Yeah.
They became their own ticket scalper. And then they started saying to the bands, and the bands was like, wow, we could sell a front row ticket for $300 each. We can make more. And, you know, bands are greedy. And look at merchandise.
Yeah.
Merchandise is insane.
Yeah.
I remember concert T-shirts were $3 and $5. Now you got a concert.
at 45 minimum,
$50, $60 for a T-shirt that costs $3.
Yeah.
And there's lines for merch, you know, a band like Iron Maiden or Metallica, you know, or even like Taylor Swift, or I think there's that Korean bands in town, BTS. Is
yeah.
They're playing the Legion Stadium like 3 shows. BTS.
Yeah. Yeah, because I even
that-
saw it was Sabaton. It was like an hour wait to the merch booth.
Yeah.
It was like insane.
They sell you a VIP, and part of the VIP is early
access
to the merch. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
You know,
I like the old school way when the opening band is on, and that's when you go to the merch booth.
Yeah. No, but so many things have changed, but I wanted to ask you about, because I was obsessed with Sunset Strip. I still am.
Yes.
In the 80s. So I know you took some pictures of Guns N' Roses with Slash. To your point, before they were even a well-known band.
Exactly. And I was friends with Slash.
Yeah.
Part of being a partier, and you know, being into drugs and so on. And you know, Guns N' Roses has a very documented drug history.
Yeah.
And so on. And you know, and I party at Slash's house. There's a memorable photo that I could show you.
Yeah.
That is always a good story that I tell. This was
because when we were looking at this before we started recording, he has pictures that I remember from a Swedish magazine called OK.
And that were published.
In a Swedish magazine.
I was friendly with. Part of my trips to England, I became friends with some of the foreign. There were photographers from Sweden there, and they, what they did was they would go to.
Because that was Michael Johansson and Stefan.
Anders Tegner, and so on. I became to them. They would stay in my house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Mike would stay at my house, stay on my couch when he come to California.
Oh, yeah.
And we were good friends, and he would help me out and get into OK Magazine.
Right. Yeah. And OK Magazine was I subscribed to that magazine for years and years, from like 82 or something through the 80s, right? And I had all these magazines, to his point, like in storage. And then I'm like, I'm not going to, read these magazines again. And I threw everything out. And I'm still, I gave some away, actually, to if you remember Ronnie that we met at Sweden Rock Festival.
I think so.
Because he was collecting these OK magazines.
You gave him some?
I gave him some, but yeah.
Okay, so this is this photo. Slash. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite, and this is, you see now the people have the bunny ears on Snapchat, and people say, oh, that's you did that. I'm like, no, I took this picture in 1987 or 1988. I'm like, that's not a Photoshop photo. I didn't put bunny ears on bunny nose. It's actually how he was. Slash, what happened was, it was Halloween.
Yeah.
And Slash picked up some girls that were dressed up as a Playboy bunny.
Yeah.
And I guess they went back to his apartment in Hollywood.
They probably were Playboy bunnies.
Yeah. Or just,
or just in that scene.
That was a costume, whatever.
Yeah.
And Slash, I think I was home. I definitely was home because I have there was no such thing as a cell phone.
Yeah.
You could call you on his landline.
Yeah.
And Slash was out of drugs. out of cocaine.
Oh, darn.
Wanted to party with the girls. What a shame. But he knew, I know who has drugs all the time. David Plastik. Let's go with David Plastik. So Slash calls me and he's mumbling into these wasted his house. Mumbling into the voice. Hey, Dave, Slash. He's mumbling. I'm like, what? It's like 2 a.m. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy saying? But I remembered him saying cocaine, and you could bring your camera. Just come here now. You know, and I lived in his apartment in Hollywood, and I remember I always had the guy across the hall was a big quantity drug dealer, so I always had access to drugs. I was like I was the connection.
Yeah,
as you could say. I was and it probably wasn't a good thing when you look at Ben now, but back then he's the cool guy. He always has drugs. You know, it's like there's always parties in my house and lots of girls and all this kind of stuff and crazy. So I remember I get in my car and I was just lucky I was home because like I said, there's no mobile phones back then.
Right.
88. Get in my car, go to Slash's house. I open the door, and he's literally sitting on a chair like this. This is how it's published. Sitting on a chair playing guitar, and he's wearing his bunny ears and a bunny nose, smoking a cigarette. And
it's so Slash.
so Slash. And I'm like, look at that. Like, I remember, before I even grabbed the drugs, I remember I just grabbed my camera. I got to get a picture of you just like that. Yeah. That's cool. It's it wasn't even set up. It's just like, he was just actually playing a guitar. And that guitar was
candid.
That guitar is a special guitar. It was actually Joe Perry's guitar.
Oh.
It's a story about what happened was Joe Perry, when he was on drugs, Aerosmith has a also well-documented drug history. Aerosmith, during the Draw the Line, they were so wasted. It was, they have people they would try to seclude them in some place in upstate, but somehow they managed to get drug dealers to bring them drugs, and party. And so, but anyway, so Joe, I guess, pawned one of his Les Pauls. Oh. Gibson Les Pauls. And somehow Slash ended up with it and later gave it back to Joe as a present. Oh, here's your old guitar. Do you remember you pawned this in the worth hundreds of $1,000s now.
Yeah, probably
maybe $400 at the time, or something like that. And Aerosmith was Aerosmith played a very big part in Guns N' Roses' career. They took them on tour, so they all became friends. And Joe Perry was probably Slash's idol.
Yeah, probably.
They're very Aerosmith-like. They're the Aerosmith of their time.
Yeah, true.
Being an American band, being 5-piece American band, 2 guitar players, so on, and all, and an outrageous lead singer, a total, Steven Tyler, Axl, kind of like that, so, so I took some pictures of that, and then all of a sudden, I'm whipping out the drugs, so, all of a sudden, the outfit comes off, the nose comes off, so now it's there, but, that moment.
But you caught the moment.
And it's not like now where you see the picture. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know the picture I got.
Yeah. Right.
Because I got developed the next day or a couple of days later.
Yeah.
And that's what.
And you hope that you caught the right angle and shot. You hope.
Blink or maybe move his head. That was the thing about, or maybe it was exposed, wasn't overexposed.
Yeah.
Remember, it's 2:00 in the morning and I'm on drugs. We're on drugs, maybe you make mistakes, There's, I do have a few other stories of where, that happened, where you don't know what you're doing and you make a mistake. But I get it developed and I get great pictures. And then I called my friend, the editor of Rip Magazine, Lon Friend, and he's like, "Oh, that's an incredible picture. We have to put that on the back cover." And we're going to have Slash kind of, sign it. It's okay. It's okay. We showed it to Slash, and he's okay with that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's like most people are like, I don't want a picture of me, with bunny ears and a bunny. No, Slash was okay with it. Slash
he didn't give a shit.
Humor. So it was, So it was, and
cool.
Collector's item kind of thing,
So, so you were friends with Slash. What about the other, Motley Crue? Did you become friendly with them?
Tommy Lee was, because Tommy Lee used to hang out with Sam Kinison.
Oh, right, yeah.
So Tommy and Heather would always hang out. So I got lots of pictures of Sam Kinison with Tommy Lee and Heather Locklear. That's when he was married to Heather Locklear at the time. So 1987. So I got pretty cool pictures of of that, and we'd hang out, we'd party. Tommy was a partier too.
Yeah.
And and part of the crew back then that always would go party, Billy Idol and a few other, trying to think who else would party with Sam back then. It was a pretty big repertoire. Sam,
A lot of rockers.
A lot of rockers. Loved Sam. Eric Clapton, Phil Collins, Ted Nugent. But Ted Nugent wasn't a partier.
Yeah.
But all these people liked Sam Kinison.
Yeah.
So it was like always a special thing to go back to. But yeah, so I knew Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
I really know Nikki Sixx, but Nikki Sixx has a well-documented drug history.
Yeah.
They say he died, twice, whatever, the dirt thing.
Right, yeah.
But I actually, even though I knew Nikki Sixx, I didn't party with Nikki. I knew, I knew some of the guys from David Lee Roth. I knew a lot of the roadies.
Oh yeah.
They were like the people, like bands would say, to their roadies, can you get drugs?
Yeah.
Sometimes they were the gophers.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I kind of became that with Sam Kinison, or his other comedians that really weren't. They became his gopher. I used to get drugs for Sam Kinison.
Oh yeah.
That was the story they tell, or whatever, like that.
Wow.
But so it was, it was a different scene back then. Now drugs are bad.
Yeah.
You got to watch out. You get cocaine now. You don't know if you have fentanyl, and then you're dead.
Right.
Right.
That's
Then
true.
there was no such thing as fentanyl. There wasn't.
No.
Cocaine will kill you if you did too much of it.
Mm-hmm.
But and there's always those stories of people or a person like Richard Pryor freebasing and all of a sudden putting himself on fire and running through. Have you heard that story?
I have not heard that story.
Oh God, Richard Pryor was freebasing cocaine and and a bunch of people, and apparently when you freebase, you're doing something with a flame. I really never got that heavy into it.
Smoking coke. Yeah, because they would change it. The old school, the original coke is like through your nose, but then they started smoking it, and all. You could probably shoot it up
crack
too, and
cocaine.
everything. And so
Part of what I never got into needles, and but unfortunately people like Slash did. Yeah. And I remember seeing him, put a needle in his arm. Then you hear the thing about John Belushi. Because you hear the thing about John Belushi. John Belushi died of a mixture of cocaine and heroin, which is called like a speedball, I think.
Oh God, okay.
And and so on. You hear about those stories, and
so many of these amazing artists just pass away way too early.
Of course.
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain. People like Jim Morrison. People like all these young, you hear about all these young, the Jimi Hendrix.
Oh yeah. 27,
the 27 Club, Jim Morrison,
Janis Joplin,
Kurt Cobain, Janis Joplin. All these people died at the age of 27. Imagine that. Imagine
a lot of them
lived. I'm 62. These people are 80. The Rolling Stones just came out. Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger's 82 years old.
Yeah,
he just came out with a new album. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
And when you see him on stage, he's
another one with Keith Richards, another one with well-documented drug history.
Yeah.
People say, how is Keith Richards still like he must be a vampire or something. He must have made, the pact with the guy,
with the devil.
Crossroads or something,
Oh right, yeah.
Deal with the devil.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Robert Johnson was another guy that died, he was 27.
Oh, he was? I didn't know that.
He was part of the 27 Club too.
Yeah, because he was...
And he was, like they said, he was one of the best guitarists ever. And, there's only so many recordings of him because it's a back ages ago when they didn't have recorded music. Being in a club and you couldn't get now everything's documented.
Yeah.
If something happens, it's on film.
Yeah. Everything.
Back then, something happened, it wasn't on film.
Yeah.
Right.
We're lucky. We were talking about Live Aid before. Live Aid luckily got taped by MTV, but Live Aid,
because it had the budget
could have
behind
happened without being recorded.
Well, I guess, but Woodstock. That was
Woodstock was a movie, yes, and Woodstock they recorded.
Yeah, and
there was a lot of things that weren't recorded.
Right.
And there was some bands that didn't believe in a thing, and there was a story about some bands that didn't get on the. I think bands like Creedence Clearwater Revival or Mountain. Like, oh no, we don't want to be in a movie.
Yeah,
and that's the dumbest thing in a career, not getting in that Woodstock movie.
Right.
But the Woodstock thing and Woodstock was very unorganized.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix went on at 4:00 in the morning or something like that.
Right, I heard about that.
And you stayed there all day and you camped out, and then they had the whole thing with the ticket thing where they there are so many. They oversold the tickets or didn't oversell the tickets. They sold out, and people just showed up just to try to get in. They broke down the gates and just flooded and just walked in, and all of a sudden there was no and you hear about this little town in upstate New York that, a farm town, where a guy has a farm and he rents it out to some concert, all of a sudden it's the biggest thing ever. You know?
It's iconic.
Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is iconic. It's crazy. So what about all these people that you met and hung out with and photographed? Were there any of the people you like, I never want to photograph this guy or this band again? These people are the worst.
I mean, there's
without naming, you don't have to name anyone.
There's a guy that lives here locally. That even his old band doesn't want to even deal with him. And if he did, they would probably be a lot bigger. But it's an outspoken personality that I would never deal with again. I would avoid.
Right.
And he just he just became a lead singer of of an old band that's getting back together, and we'll let you figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can, but there's some people that just obnoxious or just some drunken idiots, and they get into fights with the audience or something like that.
Yeah.
And just some people you don't want to deal with anymore. It's like that stuff gets old fast.
Yeah, I can just imagine.
It really does. But there's but. Like I said, it's kind of a way I was back in the 80s. It's like, I had a bad reputation, and I wasn't allowed to do some things back then, and, part of where I started working for Rolling Stone magazine. I became their staff photographer on the West Coast as far, and they would send me to events. And unfortunately, it was part of my time when I was hanging out with Sam Kinison all the time and partying every night and Guns N' Roses and became I was unreliable. I was and they couldn't trust me to even send them the photos at a time, or I screwed things up, and there was a photo shoot I screwed up one time where it was George Harrison and Jeff Lynne when they were in the Traveling Wilburys, and Warner Brothers was giving them a gold album, and Rolling Stone calls me and says, we need you to be at Warner Brothers at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, hanging out with Sam Kinison. I already knew a couple days before it's going to happen, but that didn't stop me from partying the night before. So I remember I'm hanging out with Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison didn't let you leave.
Okay.
And I was one of the guys that, okay, I'll stay. Yeah. Drugs, sure. Women, sure, I'll stay, So... So it's like, you can't leave. You can leave.
In his voice. Yeah.
And I don't have a good we have a guy that did.
Yeah.
Oh, only if he was here.
Brian Allen. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He did it perfectly.
The greatest Sam Kinison. But and he even looked like he kind of had a Sam Kinison look. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I'm partying with Sam. Sam, I gotta go. I gotta leave. It's like 6 in the morning, and I have to be at Warner Brothers at 8 in the morning, and take pictures of George Harrison, Beatle, a guy that was in the Beatles. This is I work for Rolling Stone now. This is my first. He goes, no, you can't leave. I'm like, finally let me leave.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I showed up, and I was still kind of hungover. Didn't get any sleep. 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had one of my camera settings wrong. Like the dial moved, and I was using a flash, and so if you had your shutter speed at a wrong speed, it's faster than how the flash syncs.
Okay.
And you had to be at 60.
So yes, exactly. It had to be at 60. Now it's different. Now you could actually be
right. It's different.
But back then you had to be at 60, and I moved to 125 without me knowing. And like I said, this is back on film day, so it's not like now. I go to a photo session right now. I'm looking here. You see this photo? That's how it came out. You like that? Yeah. You like your look? Oh no, let me move my hair on my face. You didn't have that option.
Yeah.
You didn't have the so I didn't find out till a day later. Like,
oh my God.
And back then
it would be half black, right?
Now exactly.
Yes.
But now
it's crazy.
but with Photoshop, you can actually correct that now. But at Photoshop, that's not 1988.
Right.
So back then, I remember I had one picture that I took before the thing dialed, and maybe I moved my camera and the thing clicked, and I didn't notice it. But I think
That's only when you're using flash. If it was daytime, daylight, outside, you wouldn't use a flash. You're good to go.
right.
But
Okay.
you know,
So it was, but yeah. So and unfortunately, but I did get that one picture. But a lot of the other pictures I was able to get didn't come out good.
Yeah.
But I've corrected them since then. And actually they used one of them at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a couple years ago. Actually, I think it was last year. The record executive, Lenny Waronker, who got into the Hall of Fame, they used the picture that I had.
So it's not a total disaster.
No. Well, now because you could, it was fixed.
Yeah.
But back in 1988, it wasn't fixed.
Right. Yeah.
So it's because you now Photoshop. Now you could do which is also another thing that brings down photography. And now AI.
that was even worse.
And you see these pictures, and you see them out. It's like you'll see a picture like, oh, is that AI or not? They could do anything. Now they have a thing with AI and music, where I was listening to Eddie Trunk the other day or something, and someone came on and said, yeah, someone programmed where I want to make a song that sounds like David Lee Roth singing in Van Halen, and it sounded great. It was actually it wasn't a Van Halen song, but it could have been.
It could have been, yeah.
It was like, and Dave's. It was just like, and the way Dave sang. That's what they could do. They could do anything. They can make a photo. The Rolling Stones just made a new video for their new album. Yeah. They wanted to make it. If you see it, you'll maybe look at it after. They wanted to make it look like they were in the 1970s. So they made it look like, so Mick Jagger's looking in the 70s singing his new song. And so on. So it's a very cool thing, but it's made with AI. And it's getting different reviews. People say, oh, they're using AI. And, when they say, well, they're using the technology. That's how, you couldn't do it without that. It's just all part of how the world turns. And the world,
It's evolution, right? But, for work, my day job, I use a lot of AI to be more productive and more professional, my output, so to speak. And I like that I can use it for that.
Sure.
And I use it to kind of clean up things, and especially me not being a native speaker.
Well, grammar mistakes.
Exactly.
Make it a better way of sounding it.
Yeah.
I'm not a writer, so I do use it sometimes.
Yeah. So those are really good things. But when it comes down to like pure fake fraud, then we are on the wrong path.
It's unfortunate, but that's only the beginning.
Yeah.
Imagine AI in 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, it's really crazy how it is. But
well, either there's going to be a lot more. If it gets that bad, and then starts becoming a lot of lawsuits and all that kind of stuff, then it could really go the other. That could be illegal. I mean, who knows? Yeah. Who knows? It depends. I think there's some countries where we're not allowed to use.
I know organizations I work with, they have banned AI usage, and they track if anyone is using AI, even for just things like that, clean up an email or whatever it may be. But yeah, it's really interesting. So, but back to David Plastik. So, if people want to buy prints, they want to first off. They want to look up what you have available on your website. Yeah,
you can you can just go on the website. You can go on the internet. You can go to my website, Vintage Music Images.
Yeah,
it's the way it's spelled, one word. Well, Vintage Music Images, no dashes, no nothing. Or you just Google David Plastik. You will get things will come up. The links will come up. Yeah, and so on. And you could go to my site, and there's just like everything, just like all kinds of shopping. You could buy something on the internet.
Yeah.
I have how much money I spend on Amazon in a day. I was waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, scrolling through Amazon. I could use that. God, it's like hopefully someone will get that and buy my photos on, right. 2 o'clock in the morning, or something scrolling through the internet. But that's how things are done. Everything's for sale these days.
Everything is for sale. Yeah.
Everything is for sale. You could buy anything, and they make these videos, and they sell things through the videos, and it's like, and I'm sure a lot of them use AI, and they use and they make their own videos and plug it on Instagram or Facebook. Yeah, and then so you could buy prints, you could hang them on your wall. There's a few on this wall.
There's a few on this wall.
That very good customer before he started the Rockin Roundtable.
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
he was bought some great photos of Yngwie Malmsteen and the Scorpions and a few other.
Yeah.
Also Yngwie, because he likes Yngwie. Yngwie, the Swedish guitar.
The Swedish guitar player. Yeah, you signed it as well, and it's beautifully framed now. Yeah. And then you gifted me the amazing Eddie Van Halen picture as well. Yeah, that I really love. So yeah, we have a lot of art on our wall here.
Yeah.
And we do recommend to go to vintagemusicimages.com and order prints from his amazing career.
Yes.
And if you're a rock fan, you will recognize a lot of these pictures. I've recognized a lot of these pictures.
I just brought the clippings, which I've never shown before. Usually, I've done other things on the internet, and I've already shown, but I never dug these out. I never dug the press. We have we were showing a Motorhead book.
Oh yeah.
We're talking this, and that's my great photo of Lemmy. Motorhead.
That's amazing.
Motorhead, unfortunately, is one of those bands that's not around. And they just had another death. Phil Campbell died.
Phil Campbell,
very young. Pictures of Phil Campbell in here. This whole book is dedicated to Motorhead. It's a lot of my photos in here. And, it's unfortunate. Motorhead's one of those bands that, though there won't be a reunion.
Yeah.
There's only one guy left.
Yeah.
And he's not even, he wasn't even an original man. Mickey D,
Yeah, Mickey D, yeah. It was
Swedish guy, right?
Yeah,
No,
right, yeah.
Is he Swedish?
He's Swedish,
yeah.
So, he is now in Scorpions.
Right.
Yeah. And there's this new band called Lex Legion that he just started with the old members from King Diamond.
I saw him in King Diamond. Yes, I saw him.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is Wendy O. Williams and Lenny
she's
together.
crazy.
Oh, yeah.
They played this was the 10th anniversary of Motorhead. Going back, this is 1985, 86?
Yeah.
86, I think
Wow.
it was. And that's when I was over there for Live Aid.
Yeah.
Or 85 then. It was
85,
85.
yeah.
So that was my last trip, so it was 85. I was over there for Live Aid. I went to see a few other concerts.
Yeah.
Live Aid. I went to the Motorhead 10th anniversary. I went to see Deep Purple at Nebworth. It was part of their reunion. It was Deep Purple, Scorpions, Meatloaf, Blackfoot, a bunch of other bands.
Yeah.
Those Deep Purple headlines. But this is when Deep Purple, the Mark II lineup,
Yeah.
Richie Blackmore, Ian Gillan, the star which you probably will never see again. They probably will not they will probably not happen.
No.
And, Blackmore's moved the other way, even though he did a recent interview and talked about some Deep Purple. It's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that or not.
I have read some of it, and he had a health scare, I think, as well.
Yes, he does. So he doesn't travel much.
No, yeah.
He only doesn't fly.
Yeah.
So you won't see him in California.
Right, yeah.
Or Las Vegas.
Yeah, because he's based out of
New York.
Connecticut.
He lives in Long Island.
Okay, yeah.
He lives in Long Island, New York.
Okay.
I actually played soccer with him.
Oh, you did?
Yes, back in 1981 or 82. I had a friend that knew Richie.
Yeah.
Richie's a big soccer player, just like bands like Iron Maiden.
Yeah,
You see
all those British
You
guys.
see pictures of Led Zeppelin playing soccer. There's that famous picture of Robert Plant, and that was in California. Of him like really short shorts, looking like the rock god that he was.
Yeah.
So I got to play soccer with Richie Blackmore once, and I was which was really special. That was really cool. I played ping pong with Carlos Santana.
Oh, wow.
I've done a few special things that perks of the job.
Yeah. So that's great. And I mean, you still have a presence here in town. I mean, people know who you are, so you go to a lot of shows.
Yes.
Even though you don't bring the camera all the time.
No, exactly. I don't, because it's, like I said, there's a lot of rules these days, and I don't like the rules anymore. I don't want to have to sign a contract saying, there's a thing called rights grab, where bands want your rights. I think a band like Foo Fighters is one of them. Really, if you agree to take pictures, and we're going to own your photos.
Okay.
What do you mean you're going to own my photos? It's my photos. You can own them, and that's my attitude. So I'm okay, fine. It's like they photography is a kind of not a respected thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's like now they made it to where we're doing you a favor. We're letting you take pictures.
Yeah.
and you're not going to make any money off them. We're going to own them. We're going to use them for merchandise. We're going to use them for this and there's nothing you could say about it.
Yeah.
Like, well, then you know what? Guess what? I'm not going to do it. But they'll find somebody to do it because some young kid or even an older person, that's new to photography. So I want to, I still want to, well, I guess.
Wouldn't be part of the circle maybe, or want to get free tickets.
Which is why, legendary photographers like Niels Lozauer, Eddie Maluk, and all these other photographers don't take pictures anymore.
Yeah.
Because they don't like how the business is run. They're better off selling pictures from their archives to get published.
Yeah.
And they do very well because those are the rare things.
Yeah.
Now, a photo, it's like, you shoot the Foo Fighters. There's tons of pictures of the Foo Fighters. We don't need to pay this photographer all this money to get that.
Yeah.
So, they find a way. And, it's all about money these days.
I guess the only way if you were doing it was like an album cover shoot, or video shoot,
That's
something
different.
like that.
That's different. That's a something.
Like a press thing.
Yeah. But live concert photos are a dime a dozen. You go to Instagram, they're post up the next day videos. And now you watch a video. Now you know when things are happening, which is also a thing. It's like back then we didn't know what was going to happen. Concerts are very choreographed.
Yeah.
You knew, like I say, someone does like, Eddie Van Halen would do that, his jump, or David Roth do their jump during a certain song, but you didn't have that information.
And you didn't know that. You thought, he jumped, and he didn't jump anywhere.
And he that happened in
place.
New York, and now you're in
right.
So now you're, but these days, sometimes they limit you to first 3 songs, and you don't even get that opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like I went to see Joe Satriani and Steve Vai.
Yeah.
I photographed that show. It was a month ago about. And Steve Vai's got this really odd guitar.
Oh, I saw that picture. Yeah.
It's got like where he can't even hold it.
It's like 4 necks on it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And the thing was, I'm only getting 3 songs. I don't even get to photograph that.
Yeah.
Oh, he brings it out later.
But he brings it out later. But the thing is, the guy in the front row with his iPhone,
he got it.
He got pictures of it.
Yeah.
And his photos aren't going to be professional photos.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're going to be shitty photos of it. And those are the pictures that are going to get circulated.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's another thing of just how the business is run.
Kind of diluting the art.
Yes, exactly. So it's no longer an art. Because if you could use AI to make a photo, or if someone is, like I said, something is a diamond, it's no longer art. It's no longer something special. It's no longer rare.
Yeah.
And, that's the unfortunate part of what photographers come to, even music.
Yeah.
We were talking about AI, how someone could create, there was a thing called, like a fake band or something, I think.
There's a couple of them.
There's a lot
of a couple of fake bands that really don't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard a country artist that I'm like, wow, this song is really, really good. And then...
Totally fabricated.
Yeah. It doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
Michael something, yeah. And I was like, the hell? So, yeah. So your archive, because you talked about Neil, but your archive, do you still make money out of that archive?
Yeah. Like I said, Alex Van Halen's doing a Van Halen anthology book.
Yeah.
And I know and I'm still waiting for the email saying, okay, they're not finished yet. It's not gone to press. Yeah. But they've already started selling it.
Okay.
You can actually buy it, and you can buy a special edition, but they haven't even gone to press, so they don't even know exactly what's going to be in the book. But they did some advertising, and they showed some early clips, and I saw at least one of my photos in there.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm still waiting, and I'll make a little money off it. The money's not as good as it used to be.
Yeah. No.
And they negotiate with you, and they play hard ass, and and.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider writing your own like autobiography or something like that?
Couldn't write it because I'm not a writer. I would have to work with some either kind of ghostwriter or someone that would work with somebody. It's been thought of. Sure, a lot of people come to me. Oh, you should do a book.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it sounds.
Do you think you would just focus on your photography career and things like that and stories, or your personal life?
I would focus more. I don't think my life is that mainstream to where a book, about my life would be there. I mostly concentrate on the photos I took in the 1980s.
Yes.
Like a decade of photos where pictures are rare. You saw some. I showed you some of my photos today.
Yeah.
Where pictures, unique pictures.
Yeah.
Pictures really aren't unique anymore.
Do you have a favorite photo that you've ever taken?
That Slash photo is very iconic.
Okay.
The Eddie Van Halen photo, this Eddie Van Halen photo.
Oh, yes.
That's my photo. I actually have that on my business card. Or actually, there's one photo. My Freddie Mercury photos are very well known.
Yeah.
Which is also another photo. I have my business card. I would be too small to show it here. But my Queen pictures from Live Aid.
Yeah.
Also are some of my favorite photos. Because Queen stole the show. And unfortunately, a person like Freddie Mercury is no longer with us. And he was such an icon.
Yeah.
There'll never be another Freddie Mercury. Adam Lambert's not Freddie Mercury.
No. He's doing a great job, but he's not.
Okay job. Okay.
Yeah. But he was such a unique.
Yes.
Not only a songwriter and a singer, but also an individual, right?
And so it's unfortunate. But some of my Freddie Mercury photos are really great.
Yeah.
If you've seen the movie, if you remember the movie, what was the Bohemian Rhapsody movie?
I have still not yet watched it, honestly.
I know we've wanted to, but we just
That's your next assignment.
Yeah, that should be.
And they recreate the Live Aid thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you kind of see it, where what it looked like at Live Aid. Obviously the actor or it was whatever.
Yeah.
Forget his name. Forget the guy's name. Rami Malek or.
Yeah.
Right.
I knew him from. He was in Twilight, but that was before that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Because he was very.
But he won an award. They won. I mean, that film won many awards.
Yeah.
It was done well.
And you still haven't seen it, okay?
No.
Now I've seen some clips on, but I don't know why. I mean.
Well, you know what it is, and I'll tell you why. I can tell you exactly why it is. We procrastinate on things because you could always do it.
Yeah.
It's like, if you travel to Vegas, you're staying on the Strip and you're going to doing all these things. You're going on the big
Like the Sphere
wheel.
and the Sphere.
But if you live here, I can do that next time. Next time.
Right.
Before you know it, it's like I remember the Cirque du Soleil Love.
Yeah.
I didn't see that until they announced the last shows. 'Cause I kept saying to myself, I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
I'll see you next time. Next week comes next year. Next year comes next 5 years. And that's what you do. You're not a tourist in your own town.
Yeah. And I think also
the tourists.
Yeah, but also, I mean, like I said, you procrastinate, but also you get a bit jaded because it's so much
Yes.
entertainment.
Yeah.
Right, but if you speak, if you see somebody, on Facebook, I made my first trip to Las Vegas the other day, and I did this, I did that. Look at it. Shit, I haven't even done that.
Yeah, more things than I would do in 5 years.
We don't go to the Strip.
Yeah, no.
Strip is bad.
Yeah,
for tourists.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's crazy in a way. But
Yes.
It's just the way it is. Cool. So if people look at your pictures, like let's say 100 years from now.
Oh.
Yeah.
When I won't be around.
Yeah, I won't be around either. So what do you hope they understand about what the rock and roll scene was that you lived through?
It's a funny question. You wonder. You look at music. And it's like we're still music of the '60s is still popular.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about the Rolling Stones, or the Beatles. It's amazing music lasted that long.
Yeah,
history lasted. Yeah, is it going to be part of a school criteria? A curriculum to where
like history. Yeah,
history. Like it's all of a sudden is Woodstock going to be history? Is Live Aid? Okay, we'll talk about me taking pictures of it. So we'll go to an event like Live Aid. Is Live Aid something going to look back? Oh, you remember this thing was the biggest rock event, in history. Which we looked at Woodstock, and now Live Aid is is the
Yeah.
80s Woodstock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it happened to two different continents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One guy managed to take a plane,
Right.
the Concorde, and appear in both places. You know?
Right.
Phil Collins, crazy. Yeah, was it Phil Collins? Elton John? Phil Collins, I think it was.
Yeah,
think it's
I think,
Phil
yeah. I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
Yeah, because he played with Led Zeppelin, and he also played.
Right.
He did,
Yeah.
did the drumming for.
I don't think Elton John had any. I don't know if he was a part of the live.
He was. Yeah, He was in England.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, you reminded me because I did not remember it was Phil Collins who played John Bonham.
Who's now going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Yeah, as a solo artist now. He just got nominated. Unfortunately,
He's
Phil
also
Collins
ill.
is not is very ill.
Yeah, they always
And he
wait
can't-
till they're on their
he can't-
deathbed.
He can't play drums anymore. His son fills in for him. But they don't even. But Genesis doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, this is a guy that's health is sad.
Yeah.
It's Phil Collins, iconic musician.
Yeah.
Really was. He had a great band career and an incredible solo career.
Yeah.
You don't find many people like that.
Yeah. That's true.
You really
That's
don't.
true.
It's famous for their bands,
Yeah.
But he sold more albums as a solo artist as he did, in Genesis.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know about Genesis until I knew about him. And then I went, in his back catalog. I'm like, Genesis is a really, really good band.
Yes, very unique progressive band.
Yeah. So.
Wasn't commercial, wasn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's cool.
But yeah, so getting back to that question, it's so hard. You don't know. You wonder. I'm already in my 60s. I don't know how much time I have left.
Yeah.
And you wonder what the world is going to be without you.
Yeah.
Are you going to be talked about? Are you going to be forgotten? Do we still remember? It's like every year when my social media posts. I don't like to really kind of spam the thing. I make them to where I sell it when it's a person's birthday or an anniversary of their death. I'll post a photo on Facebook and Instagram, and that's how I remember them. You wonder, okay, well, people remember, David Plastik artist photo. I doubt that, but I mean,
But yeah, I mean,
that's a good thing. But yes,
because I mean, for me, photography is an art,
Yes,
and
okay.
the photos you have been taking through the years. I mean, even before I knew you, I
Yes.
knew about your
Yes.
photos, and I hope that 100 years from now, that it's still remembered. It's like
well,
an
we won't
art
be
that-
there to find out.
No, we won't.
Unless they invent
Well, I
some
might
kind of thing
but no.
to make us.
I feel bad for you guys.
To make us feel. I mean, to make us live forever.
Yeah. Well, she's already 600 years, so
At least.
at least, yeah. No, but
What's your
it's
secret?
it's interesting, and I really do hope
Witchcraft.
that this time of life that we live now will be remembered because it has been such a unique part of
It is.
history.
I mean, you look back at history, and you look back at and you see all these TV shows that show. You look at take a show like Yellowstone or
yeah.
or any of those other, where they depicted old history, something happened back then, and they kind of try to relive history of maybe, or, there was a movie on Lincoln.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they're showing how Lincoln, that's it. What 1600 was Lincoln? Was
I don't even know. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're not American,
Yeah.
And I don't.
Officially, yeah.
He knows more than I
You're
do.
born here. You want to, but yeah,
I'm imported.
Yes, imported. Yeah, but
Yeah.
how history told it.
Yeah.
Might not be, you have things about the Bible or the Ten Commandments or how history was told. You really don't know if that's actually history.
Right.
So how will the story go on?
Yeah.
But thing is, just documents of it now. See, now we're in a different age.
Yeah.
They didn't have a camera. They didn't have a video camera back in
Right,
1600 and have Lincoln being shot on film.
Yeah.
But now they have Donald Trump being shot in the. Well,
Yeah.
whatever. We won't talk about that.
No, but yeah, everything is documented.
Yeah.
Is it, even if it's not a person who's filming it, you have CCTV everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, it's like storming out.
Oh, the wind is still,
Yeah.
It's the worst weather in Las Vegas. Vegas is
Yeah.
supposed to be nice weather. It's
They call Chicago the windy city, but They have nothing on Las Vegas.
Yeah, no, Las Vegas is crazy. I feel like I'm gonna be, we're gonna be in Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and go up in the, we're not in Kansas anymore, not in Las Vegas anymore.
Tornado
thing with the, and the,
Yeah.
So.
Oh man. Well, cool. Did you have anything more?
If you could remember, what was the loudest band that you've ever seen?
Probably Motorhead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're known for being the loudest.
They're known for that, yeah.
Yes, and Motorhead. I had many concerts. My hearing is not not good at all. I often have to tell people to repeat themselves, and it's unfortunate. I didn't use protection in my ears.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone did. I mean, I in the last
people
recently
like
I've
Pete
been
Townsend is practically deaf.
Oh yeah.
And a few other, well-known musicians are very deaf because they play their music very loud.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say Motorhead.
Okay. Craziest backstage party that that you were a part of now, or that you witnessed,
That I contributed to.
that you're allowed to talk about.
yeah. That you supplied.
You probably already mentioned some of them, but
Yeah, probably something to do with Guns N' Roses. So I think we went, or maybe it wasn't even backstage, or I think we went to the hotel afterwards and party with Guns N' Roses after they played the Whiskey one night.
Yeah.
And I had some other very iconic photos of Slash and Steven at a different instance, at a hotel room. So yeah, I would say something like that.
And was there any artist or band that you wish you photographed even more? Like you have very little footage and you wish you could go back and.
I'm trying to think. I got the photograph. The bands in the '80s, which is when my decade was of photos. I basically, at times, I wish I was able to. It's hard to say. That's a tough question. I can't really call offhand, but I wish I had more photos or I took more photos at an instance. But I have a pretty good collection of, bands like Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Motorhead we spoke about.
Yeah.
So I can't think of anything offhand on that one.
Okay.
On a rapid fire kind of.
I know the opposite of rapid
I want to
fire.
ask you a question about one band. I knew you were friends with White Lion. Did you shoot them a lot?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Their roots are, even though my tramp is Danish.
Yeah.
Their roots are, Vito was a New Yorker.
Yeah.
I saw them before it was White Lion, and it was I believe it was just Mike and Vito.
Okay.
And before the album came out, and they were a different band, and I recently showed him to Mike Tramp, and he was like, "Wow, you saw us at L'Amour's, which is the famous, hard rock nightclub of Brooklyn."
I heard about that place.
Yes,
yeah.
and that's kind of like the, kind of how vamped in Las Vegas was. Mm-hmm. It was the place where all the, great metal concerts happened. L'Amour's, which is no longer in existence, and there's movies about L'Amour's. I think there's a movie about that.
Yeah, and that other punk club,
CBGB's.
Yeah.
I've heard so much
I saw
about
some
that.
great punk bands. You saw the Ramones. I saw a lot of early punk bands, Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers, Talking Heads, Blondie.
Mm-hmm.
So all those concerts. That
wow.
was even before I was even taking pictures.
Okay.
That was more like in the
Back then,
70s, right?
Yeah, no, it was
Late
1978, 79.
Yeah, late 70s.
And in New York, you can get a fake ID pretty easy. So you could, and there was no pictures.
Oh, okay.
So you could literally be like, it's an ID. It's got my name. My name is Joe Smith, or not Joe Smith. But I have an ID that says that. It says I'm 19.
Yeah.
I looked older than I was, so I get passed for it, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
They didn't do the, it wasn't, where. So I managed to get into those kind of places back then.
Yeah.
And see those kind of bands. Ramones are from Queens, which is where I was born. Mm-hmm. They were, kind of there. And unfortunately, another band that you won't see anymore because they were all deceased.
Yeah.
Shame.
It's a shame.
They have a punk rock museum here. Wish they had more of a celebrated our music. There's a Metal Blade museum, but that's kind of not. That's more focused on that record label.
Yeah, the label. Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed
It's
to the
cool.
punk rock museum is really You know, have you been there?
We need to
We
go.
haven't been there
That's
yet,
another
yeah.
thing.
Another
Like
thing,
we take it for granted.
Yeah, take it for granted. Yeah.
I can get you in there. I can hook you up.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so 'cause
Yeah.
they let me because I have some photos in there.
Okay.
Yeah,
we really want to go there.
I donated some photos in there, and that's right near our friend Ken's.
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
there.
Ken has
that
his
studio?
store next
Yes,
door.
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have shitty parking there. They always make,
Oh, it's awful.
have to take an Uber there, so it's like maybe we could make up a deal with Ken and park in his.
Yeah, because he has like these kind of like it looks like stop signs with his name on it. So you can get text him before.
That's a good place. I like the punk, and they're having a lot of cool things. And I think they're going to have a thing on the Ramones coming up.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to get maybe a couple of my Ramones photos in there, and a couple of Ramones photos that a friend of mine has. And something so we'll see.
That's cool. Yeah.
In your opinion, who's the most underrated frontman? Do you think?
Most underrated frontman.
It makes me think as well.
Can you think of any examples? Elaborate on somebody, or what do you think of this part? Who would be your choice?
Yeah, I mean,
I know more current stuff, but I mean, in the past, that never got. I don't know.
because the frontmen back in the day, they were frontmen for a reason.
David Lee Ross,
Yeah.
Steven Tyler's,
And Axl Rose, and
Axl
Vince
Rose,
Neil, yeah.
Vince
and
Neil.
they're not underrated. They're actually highly. So
yeah.
that's
Yeah, so my point is that there's very few that are underrated, I think. They're maybe overrated.
We're talking about Phil
Yeah,
Lynott.
there's a
We're
lot
talking
more
about Phil
overrated.
Lynott.
Yeah.
Phil Lynott was a frontman. He was a
Yes.
bass playing, singing frontman.
Yeah.
He was the frontman. He was the center vocal.
Yeah.
He was iconic. Thin Lizzy's one of those bands you say are an underrated band. They
Yeah.
probably will never make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Unfortunately.
right.
And it's a shame, there's a certain genre of music that kind of gets ignored from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And that being the harder rock stuff or the classic rock. The
That's true.
70s classic rock. Bands like Boston, bands like Styx, Thin Lizzy, we were talking about, influential bands that don't, aren't going to make it into so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, speaking of influential bands,
Rocks. Some bands.
Oh, yeah.
Influential band that had a short history.
Diamond Head out of
Diamond Head.
Yeah.
And they did their history relates to Metallica. Metallica liked them so much they put them on did two of their songs that made them rich.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, speaking of rich, I read somewhere that Lemmy said that he made more money on Mama, I'm Coming Home for Ozzy than he did for all his Motorhead album.
Yeah, because
That's
Motorhead was not
crazy.
a commercial band.
Yeah.
And Mama, I'm Coming Home is, and probably rights were different. And it's amazing he got to keep the rights, and Sharon didn't steal it from him.
Yeah.
And Sharon's notorious for stealing rights from people like Jakey Lee and so on.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
not crediting them and not them get Bob Daisley.
Yeah.
Another one that, apparently should be very wealthy from Ozzy because he wrote all the songs of Ozzy.
He did,
wrote all the lyrics, and that's where you make the money. But he apparently was robbed.
Yeah.
By,
I actually watched an interview
Yes.
with him this morning
Oh.
with Bob Daisley, and it was this young kid interviewing him over the phone. And Bob Daisley said he is still recording, he's still writing, but he's not playing out, no touring and no shows. But
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Well, he would have to be in a band to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But he has no interest.
He couldn't tour as Bob Daisley.
No, he could not. No.
He'd have to be in a band.
But he's also one of those. Well, if you talk about underrated, and underappreciated.
Underappreciated, I want to say, is probably a better term.
Yeah.
Than underrated. It's part of the industry. It's
Yeah.
really, you hear about and genre music that we like. Doesn't sometimes gets overshadowed by the pop music or the rap music or and so on. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is not really rock and roll.
Yeah, don't get me started. Yeah, that's but in the industry, Sharon's father, he was also ruthless.
John Arden.
Yeah.
And he was notorious for being like the worst, I mean, the evilest manager
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Him and Peter Grant, who managed Led Zeppelin, the tough guys. They were like mobsters.
Oh, was it that? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then there was a guy that managed Tommy James, if you know what Tommy James is. Tommy James wrote Moni Moni.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He wrote all these songs that mostly Joan Jett covers.
Yeah.
And a few others, but they, Taylor Swift.
Billy Idol.
Billy, yeah. And yeah, he was managed by the mob.
Okay.
And he has a great book.
Okay. I will look that up. Yeah.
And he's great. He's still around. He's still alive, and he did, and
So it was never whacked.
no, and he could have been. Yeah. He literally could have been he has a business,
Yeah.
And now he lives to talk about it. And all those guys are dead.
Yeah.
So now he could talk about it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, back then the mob ran lots of things. They ran record companies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. They want a piece of wherever the money was made.
Yeah.
The mob got into it.
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
I knew they ran the city. Yeah.
And it was a lot better back then.
Yeah. People still want them to come back. And
we don't want the corporate entities running Las Vegas.
That is funny though.
Where they charge for parking and everything.
Yeah.
And don't have $1.99 buffets or or something, or lots of comps.
Or $5.99 steak dinners and stuff. Yeah. All that stuff. That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I have one last question. Is there an artist or a band like today, like currently, that reminds you of like old school rock energy, like back in the day? So.
I'm not a big fan of Youngblood.
But that would be top of my list.
He seems to be making it. I'm not. I really don't know about his music. He's playing here Tuesday.
Yeah, he does.
And I might go just because I can get in to the show.
Oh yeah.
Don't miss the opening band unless you've seen the Warning.
Warning.
They're amazing.
Yeah, that's a badass.
They could fit in this category.
That's an amazing thing. You think of it. 3 sisters.
They're amazing.
From Mexico.
Yeah.
But they sing in English, right?
Yes. Yeah. They sound like
there might be
American.
one song that they do,
have you heard them interviewed?
Yes.
How is their English?
Oh, it's like perfect American English.
Okay,
yeah.
So they weren't. Okay, so but they were.
They're young because I would say they're raised with it's
ESL,
better.
I guess they, English is second language, so on.
Yeah, social media.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it's pretty. I do want to see that, and that's I think I'm going to go. There's lots of shows this week. There's Amon Amarth we were talking about. I know they're playing.
Yes, I saw that with Death Clock, and
I got tickets for that. So
you do? Okay.
Someone gave me a pair of tickets for that. I think I got tickets for Sepultura. I think I'm playing Monday.
Oh, I didn't
it's
know.
all these bands that are playing during the week.
It's like Biohazard, Exodus.
Oh, Exodus, Gary Holt. Yeah. Okay.
I'm wondering if Gary's in. I guess he would be.
Yeah, he's in.
Jill's
Exodus.
going. She's asking if we were going. She had an extra ticket for that.
Okay. I didn't know that. I've never seen Exodus.
I saw them back in the day, but but I didn't get to see them with. I don't think I saw them with Kirk. I didn't think I have pictures somewhere.
Okay. Yeah.
Another one at guitar. So
Yeah.
Gary
So there's a lot of shows this week. I knew about Youngblood, and I knew about Amon Amarth. Yeah.
And I'm not too familiar with Death Clock.
Yeah, me neither.
I have no clue who they are.
They're headlining.
Yeah, they're co-headlining with Amon Amarth.
But I think they're on last.
Yeah, I think
We've seen Amon Amarth multiple times, so I was like, if we miss it, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that band, but yes.
Yeah.
When I've seen them recently.
If we don't have to buy tickets, and in my instances, I didn't have to buy tickets. I got a bunch of.
Yeah.
I do have some perks of the business.
Yeah.
So,
but I love that you go to all kinds of shows. It's not only rock music.
I'm bored. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's you gotta live life. You can't just sit in and do nothing.
Yeah.
People go to me, God, you go out every night. And actually, I don't go out every night. But compared to your life, that where you do nothing, it looks like I go out every night. I'm a single guy. I don't have kids. I don't have family. My dogs. My dogs hate it when I leave.
Oh yeah.
They're sitting at home right now and probably hearing the wind and like, where is he?
Yeah, they're watching TV, right?
They are. They watch the TV. One of my dogs is the greatest TV watcher, and one of them doesn't even get phased. The weirdest thing, and they're related. I tell you, I have a mother and one of her puppies. So the dogs are related, but they're not. They didn't inherit the TV. I guess as a puppy, my dog noticed TV and. He
showed me video from his.
She sits there, she watches.
Yeah.
But it's annoying because like she'll bark at. I'm like,
it's a TV.
It's like she does well. Yeah, she either she has a doorbell or she's a dog on TV. Oh God, she goes crazy when she's a dog. Or basketball bounce or golf.
Oh yeah,
playing golf ball. It's a ball.
Where did it go?
Yeah, I'm gonna fetch that ball. Baseball. So yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
fantastic being on a Rockin' Roundtable.
Yeah, I appreciate
you very
taking
much.
the time.
Like I said, my first podcast I actually did in person.
Yeah.
Which is a whole different experience, and I think it's better, actually.
It is. I mean, you're over that Zoom thing. I don't know. It's kind of, I remember I did one on Zoom, and I think sometime we lost connection. And thing.
Yeah.
Or I had, so, it's either the internet on a windy day like today, internet would have been probably,
Yeah, there's always technology challenges.
Yeah.
I'm not saying always because Zoom is a great software, but
it can
and
things can happen.
We like this. We like to have people come here and have a chat.
Yeah.
With you
have great hospitality. You have great parties.
Yeah.
We have
Not those kind of parties.
Networking.
Yeah, what are our parties ranked compared to your parties?
my 80s parties.
Yeah,
I don't have parties anymore.
Right.
I don't know anyone in my house.
Yeah. No.
Some people are,
We have had some really fun times here in the house, and you're always invited to our parties, and we always show up and with a good energy and attitude. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
That wraps up this episode of Talkfest at the Rockin' Roundtable with David Plastik. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.